Family, I had something different. I had a whole different lesson set up, and that's what I posted on the advertisement on Facebook. But the way the Most High works is amazing. So the class that I had built, we're gonna, y'all willing, we'll do that next Saturday. This is a class that I've been building for some time, and as I got ahead of myself, I said, let me go ahead and finish these notes so I have next week's class done. And the more I'm digging these notes, my spirit is being pricked. My spirit is being pricked. And y'all know how, can I just be honest? Can I have full disclosure? I don't know everything. I haven't mastered the Torah life yet. I'm learning just like you're learning. So today we got to expose some false doctrine, family. And guess who's been teaching the false doctrine? Me, yours truly. No one's exempt from teaching false doctrine. That's why I tell brothers, well, you calling me a false prophet? It shouldn't be offensive if I can prove it with the book. So the fact that I've been teaching false doctrine, it don't make me feel no less of a teacher. I'm a slave getting things in part as you are. When you feel convicted and you have the evidence in front of you and you don't correct it, that's when you become a false prophet, and that's when you're into sin. So today we're gonna address and correct some false doctrine that I've been teaching over the years. And again, you don't take my word for anything. You do your own study and you verify these things for yourself. But today we're gonna address some false doctrine about head coverings. And this is something I've been wanting to, over the years. I grew up in a community where we were kufis, not because we were Muslims or 5%ers. It was just, that's what the community did. So you'll see us as teens wearing kufis. And I remember when I first started buying them, my mom got all offended because my mom's that Southern Christian. Oh, don't be bringing that mess in here. And I would mess with her, you know, God body, and I don't want to hear that mess. But it wasn't I was a 5%er. I wasn't following Islam. It's just what our community did. We had Muslim brothers with stores and selling things on the corner, so we would wear kufis. So then when I came into the Hebraic culture, I just started wearing kufis all the time. But I've been wanting to get to this style of head coverings, but like I tell you, all the brothers with this style of head coverings are those over the top, unrighteous. So I stayed away from this type of head covering because I didn't want to be lumped up as one of those unrighteous camp brothers. But this style of head coverings we're going to see today is more in line with our culture. We do things that's commanded in the scriptures or to Tanakh, and then we do things that are culturally just part of our heritage. Part of us coming back and saying we're the people of Yah is reclaiming our heritage.
And tell them what style of head covering you have on, because I don't think, can they see you?
Is my screen not sharing?
I'm not sure.
Is my camera on?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So this style of head covering, you hear some brothers call this a mitri. I call it a diadem because I don't like to use their phrases or any. I don't want to. I'm so disgusted by those camp brothers. I don't even like to use their terminology. So some brothers would call this a mitri. I call this a diadem. This is a diadem or a mitri, and we're going to go over some history to show you this is more of our head coverings, and not only for the man. We're going to find out this is the style for the women too. So just to put it out there, no one's above teaching false doctrine, and you shouldn't be offended. If someone comes to you and says, hey, you know what, that class you taught, I found this resource, what do you think about it? You shouldn't get puffed up. Oh, I've been teaching 40 years, man. You can't show me nothing. And that's when you know you're dealing with a brother with a Pharisaic heart. I've been teaching all these years. I done baptized. I got churches syndicated, and it don't matter. If this brother can show you with precepts, witnesses that what you just taught is not part of the script, you should have a humble heart and be able to correct, or at least have an ear to hear what the brother is saying. So that's what we're doing today, fam. We're going back and we're being Bereans, and we're going to address and correct the poor doctrine that we've been teaching here at the Torah Group about head coverings. about head coverings. So Talmudic head coverings, the Messiah warned us. He says, beware of the leaven of the parashim or parashim. The parashim is the word in Greek, became known as the Pharisees. Messiah says, beware of the leaven of the parashim or the Pharisees. He gave us that warning. So this is a Muslim woman, and you know the Muslims are our cousins. They are Shemitic people, and this is one of the headdresses of the Eastern women, and some of our women too are now adopting this headdress here. There's another style that's not up here, just came to me. You'll see some Muslim women, they wear the hijab or the hijab, but this is the style that our Israelite sisters, the Hebrew sisters, are starting to adopt some of this style right here. The next one, the most popular one, you'll see the sisters trying to do something like this with the different headscarves to wrap their head up. This is one of the most popular headdresses among the Hebrew women or the Israelite women. Then you got the brothers like myself included. This is what I grew up with. This is what I've been wearing, the kufi, trying not to identify as a camp brother. I was adopting the kufi style of headdress. Now you got this class, lost, trying to reclaim his identity, and he's following something that's nowhere in the book whatsoever. But you got this. This is straight. I don't want to belittle the brother.
Very white.
This is ludicrous. Black and white is nowhere in our script as part of our holy garments. This top hat is nowhere in the scrolls whatsoever. But you got some brothers, and our brother, what's the baller? Amar Stoudemire. Amar Stoudemire is even wearing this. Nowhere in the book is this style in the book.
Yeah, he know he's an Israelite, but he think they also Israelites. So right. He followed Judaism.
Right.
He just probably don't know. I don't know.
Who is blind but my servant? Who is blind but my servant? So this is one of our ancient, SELAH, he's not ancient. He was over in New York in the 50s, and he was like one of the first ones to start a school in New York. His name escapes me, but you can look him up. And he also, because New York was now run over by Khazars, he had to go to them to be ordained as a rabbi. This natural Israelite went to the Khazars to teach me how to be a rabbi, because I'm an Israelite. So they engrafted him back into his own covenant, yeah, but gave him Judaism. So this is from the 50s, and this brother, again, one of his schools is still around in different forms now, and his school is splinter off in different groups. So if you ever go to New York or you go Facebook or YouTube, you'll see the remnants of his school is still around. But you see, he has a top hat on or whatever, and in his mind, this is what the Israelites were doing. This is what the Old Testament was doing. But we're going to show you today, this is nowhere part of our culture. This is nowhere part of our culture. And here's some modern Jews over in the land now. I think this is Desmona, and you can see the elder. The elder has his hat on, and then you see the brothers and sisters, even the children, they have their whole crown is covered. Everything is covered. You see the sisters and the brothers too. And this is recently. This is within I think this was from the 90s or 2000s. So you see our people, we're trying to come back to our culture, but everything we touch has been muddied up. Everything we touch has been muddied up. And the biggest culprit is the language, family. This language exposes all this bad doctrine, and you're going to see today what I mean. The first precept, family, let's go to the intro to Sirach. Let's go to the prologue to Sirach. Just the intro. Those online, give me a minute. I'll get you set up too with the intro to Sirach.
Can you also mention?
microphone.
Can you also mention the names that's not Hebrew?
What do you mean?
Like for the book, so other people can know where you're going that don't know the Hebrew type.
Yeah, so we're going to the book of Sirach. It's also called Ecclesiasticus, and I'm going to get it on the screen for you all too. And we're going to read the prologue first. So let me get it on the screen. And I'm going to show you why we're so lost as a people coming back. And we're not throwing stones at anyone doing the best they can. Continue to the best you can with your understanding. This is not throwing stones at anybody. This is us rightly dividing the word of truth. But we're going to show you why we're so messed up as a people, even us who are trying to come back to this culture. I'm going to show you why we got so messed up. So those online, just let me know if you can see the screen. We're just going to read the prologue right here, or the intro to this book of Sirach. And just so you know, we'll start at the top so they can get the meat. You ready? Read.
The prologue of the wisdom of Yahushua, the son of Sirach. Whereas many and great things have been delivered unto us by the law and the prophets, and by others that have followed their steps, for the which things Yashar all ought to be commended for, learning and wisdom, and whereof not only the readers must needs become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without, both by speaking and writing. My grandfather Yahushua, when he had much given himself to the reading of the law and the prophets and other books of our fathers, and had gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to learning and wisdom, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn and are addicted to these things might profit much more in living according to the law. Wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem.
Where you at? I'm sorry.
We may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force.
Have not the what?
The same force in them.
This is what we came for, family. He says, wherefore, let me entreat you, I beg you, read it with favor and attention, but pardon us, because these things that has been translated into Greek or Latin or German, they have not the same force of the Hebrew. That's why we're so messed up when it comes to the head wraps, the pants, because we're reading text that's been butchered up and fed back to us. Now we got strangers telling me how to walk my walk, and you have no part of my culture. Let's get another precept. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Something my wife, and I seen it years ago too, and Gina was up reading one night, and it hit her like a ton of bricks. I think she's about to walk away from the truth.
No.
Let's go to 2nd Ezra 1. 2nd Ezra 1 and 24. 2nd Ezra 1 and 24. Read.
What shall I do unto you, O Yaakov? You, Yahweh, would not obey me. I will turn me to other nations, and unto those will I give my name, that they may guard my statutes.
See, right here, a Christian's going to take this verse and see, it ain't about y'all being no Israelites. He says right here, and in your apocrypha, he says, and unto those will I give my name, that they may keep my statutes. Seeing that ye have forsaken me, I will forsake you also. When ye desire me to be gracious unto you, I shall have no mercy upon you. The seminary is going to take this and run with it. See, all that Israelite stuff, they the people of the book, it's right here. The Most High just says, I'm going to turn unto another nation that they may keep my statutes. Them not knowing the language and the culture, going to have them in a ditch somewhere. Because I would have to ask anyone who take that position, okay, show me another nation that was called by the name of Yah. Lord and God are not names. Lord and God are deity or titles of pagan deities. So our Father's name is not Lord, his name is not God. So he didn't name us after him. We're not named the nation of Lord, we're the nation of Yasher Allah because his name is Yahweh. So you would have to show me another nation that he gave his name to. Then you would have to show me with archaeology, show me where they found some ancient bricks, not no animal skin or leaves. Show me where they found ancient bricks of the 10 Commandments somewhere. Have you found them in Russia? Have you found them in Germany? No. So you not knowing the culture, you would take this English translation that was translated from Hebrew, that was translated into Greek, that was translated into Latin, then translated into English, and you would take this and make a doctrine out of it. Yah has never given his name to another people. You have to understand the language and culture to understand these scrolls. Many teachers, my senior, will shut us down. You trying to speak that Hebrew, you don't know what you're even speaking. You're reading those lost books, and you're going to get lost in those lost books. But when you watch their breakdowns, they're good brothers. I love them, but their breakdowns, their lessons will fall short because they don't know the ancient tongue of creation. That's why we take the time to learn our ancient tongue of creation. Those pictures unlock what the Father is saying. Nowhere has the Most High put his name on another nation. Nowhere has he forsaken us. What he's doing here in the Hebrew, he's being sarcastic. Any sarcastic folks in the audience? I love sarcasm. You got him for the Father. He's being sarcastic to us. What should I do? Should I give my name to another nation? No, because he promised Abraham, if he gave his name to another nation and he gave his laws to another nation, he just broke his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, I would never leave them or forsake them. But people not knowing the culture would take this verse in 2nd Ezra and run with it because they don't know the language. They don't know the language. Let's go to another one people who don't know the language run to. And this is in the so-called Tanakh or the 66 canon. Let's go to Jeremiah. I know it's SELAH, it's Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah. Isaiah 28, I believe it is. This is another one they run to. They say, see, you don't got to learn nothing about no Hebrew. You don't need none of that stuff. The Spirit's going to teach you. So let's go to Isaiah 28. And can you pick it up at verse 11? Isaiah 28 and verse 11. Shema?
Shema.
Read.
For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people.
So this is the precept they take you to when you tell them that you're learning the language and you're learning the ancient tongue of creation. Well, you don't need Hebrew because Isaiah 28 and 11 says, for with stammering lips and another tongue. See, that's why he had it written in the Greek. That's why he had it in English. He said he was going to speak to our people in another tongue, and then they start using Greek logic. See, he knew he was going to be in America speaking English, so that's why he's speaking to us in another tongue. But when you look at this in the Hebrew, this is not what he's saying. I'm going to speak to him in another tongue. So let's keep this in context. Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
Let's keep this in context. Let's go back up and get who he's talking to here. Let's go back up to the beginning. Isaiah 28 and 1. Read.
Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine.
So who's the subject of this chapter?
Ephraim.
Ephraim. Ephraim, for those who are just coming in, Ephraim is another name for northern Israel, the 10 tribes. So he's talking right now, family, he's talking to the 10 tribes known as Ephraim, right? So he's telling Ephraim, because of your pride, because of your drunkenness, you refuse to let those idols go. Now I'm going to speak to you in another language. But the word here for tongue, the Hebrew word for tongue is Lashan or Lashawan. And he's not saying I'm going to speak to you in another language. I'm going to speak to you in another tone. I was speaking to you as a dear son. Come back. Remember how you do that? Stop that, baby, stop that. Then all of a sudden,
get your behind back over here.
That's what he's telling Ephraim. I'm talking to you as a son, but because you refuse to heed my warning, didn't I say when we open up, Yah always gives us warnings? Yeah. So he's giving Ephraim warnings. Come back to my law, Ephraim. Stop that idolatry, Ephraim. He says, but now with stammering. What stammering lips mean, family?
You mad.
You mad. You ever see somebody that lip is shaking? That's when your dad about to kill you. You see somebody bottom lip shaking? So y'all saying, you got me mad. That's what he's saying. He's not saying, I'm going to speak to you in Greek. I'm going to speak to you in Latin. No. And now to prove our statement, watch how he changes his tone after verse 11. After verse 11, he changes his tone. Isaiah 28:12.
To whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear.
I was going to give you Shabbat. I was going to give you eternal Shabbat, the eternal covenant, my eternal rest, but you would not hear. Read on.
But the word of Yahweh was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken.
And what?
And taken.
You will be taken. Killed. He said, I sent you prophets giving you line upon line, precept upon precept, running it down. But Ephraim, you wouldn't listen. Now you're going to be taken. You're going to be taken out my sight. You're going to be bastards. So that's what he's saying. He wasn't saying, I'm going to speak to you in Hebrew. Slakia. I'm going to speak to you in Greek. No, he's telling Ephraim, I'm going to change my tone, how I'm talking to you. This is why it's necessary. If you want to be a student of the Most High, if you really want to be in line and obedient, you have to come back to our language of the ABBA YAH, the Barakatah Yahawashai, because those pictures that we learn, they unlock the text. They unlock the Father's directions to us. This is not us being puffed up. I don't care about Facebook likes. I don't care about YouTube followers. This is us wanting to know what our Father said to us so we could be in line and bring him other sheep. So this is why we take the time to learn those pictures, because the pictures unlock what the Father said to us. And this is why we've been led astray with the head coverings. This is why we've been led astray with the head coverings. So let's go back to the presentation. Does that make sense? If you don't come back to the culture, which is based on the language, when you read these scrolls, these scriptures, it's all going to be, pardon the pun, it's going to be Greek to you. Because our elders were not Greeks, they were not Latins, they were not Romans. Our prophets, Messiah, they are all Israelites. All Israelites, and they were steeped in the culture. They're using Hebrewisms that if you don't understand the culture, you're not going to understand what they're talking about. There's an exercise I used to do when we open up with somebody. I would pass around statements and I would say, have somebody read, me and my dog was kicking back, twisting caps. What does that mean, family? Anybody?
You said what now?
Me and my dog was kicking back, twisting caps.
Drink.
Me and my friend was drinking. Now, if you read that to somebody, a Spanish speaker, they'll laugh like, what you do with your dog? Because they don't understand our culture. That's how it is with the Bible, with these scriptures. If you don't understand, that's not on?
No, I just raised my hand.
Okay. If you don't understand the culture, you can read this text. You can get the scrolls. You can get Spurgeon's. You can get all the commentaries you want. You could buy the what they got out there, the Sefer. You could buy all those the parallels. It don't matter your translations. If you don't come back to the Lashawan, the tongue of creation, the Barakatah Yahawashai, you're not going to understand the text. Shemaria?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, or the Most High brought it up through the Rawat. But I've been studying some stuff about the words and the language and the actual word language itself. So this one was interesting to me because I mean I knew it, but I wanted to see with a definition, something concrete, because it's funny. I found that when they use the word language in the Bible, because English is just horrible, it's the devil's language, really. But language, they use it, and it's three, and it could be more, but I found at least three different Hebrew words where it's language in English, but it's three different Hebrew words, and I might get to that part later. But on this part, I just wanted to find something because they actually do use Lashawan, which is just tongue or language. But I was like, it's got to be something to really say that he's speaking in another tone besides just, because with that, for me, it's kind of, I get it. I get the concrete. I mean, I get the context, but I still, this is me.
You want a black and white.
Yeah, I said, because somebody could be like, well, that ain't really what but when you go through the Strongs, if you just look on the surface, it's still not there. But when you scroll down in Blue Letter Bible or different lexicons, but Blue Letter Bible, it'll say that it's from another Strong's word, H3960. And just skipping down to make it quick, it says a babbler, bay, or evil speaker. And for me, evil speaker was meaning he was speaking to them with a different tonality. He was angry, right. So that for me, that just backs up what he was trying to convey.
And you have to go below the surface. It takes that much scholarship and that much patience to unlock these scrolls. These seminary preachers, they go to school and they learn a curriculum and they stop. They don't question that curriculum no more. That's what I had to learn for a grade. That's what my degree is based on. And they don't go back and research who they just read. Who wrote that book? Who was the publisher of that book? Let's go to the footnotes. So the fact that Lashawan can go back to evil speech, the Most High changed his speech to Ephraim and was speaking rough to them. That's what he was saying. Not that I'm gonna scatter y'all around the world and now I'm gonna have my Torah written in English so y'all can know. That's not, but that's what people give you when they come against us learning our language. That Isaiah 28:13, and we just blew that out the water. He wasn't saying I'm going to speak to you in a different tongue. I'm changing my tone. I'm changing my speech. Nariah, you had something?
Yeah, it just goes back to that precept where Yahweh was saying how he brings good and evil. And if there's something evil befalling the land, have I not done it? So it completely coincides with what Shemaria was saying, because is he not speaking evil over Ephraim now, since he wasn't listening when he was speaking soft to him, when he was pleading with him? Now he's speaking evil to him. So. Now
I'm pretty much cursing you that I'm going to send you out my land. Yeah. I'm going to send you out my face. That's evil speech to us. That's evil speech. Great breakdown. So let's just back up. So we see these are different types of head coverings that our people have started using in this awakening. And it's not a knock on anybody. I told y'all I'm a man of my word. We are an organic community. And what I mean by that, as we learn stuff and we can verify it, we implement it if it can be implemented. So we're not knocking anyone who's still doing this. It's just that it's time for us to grow past this and with scripture. So these are the different styles of head coverings. None of us do this, but I just put him up there like, this is just ridiculous.
He's a rapper, I think.
Yeah, Babylon Bounce. So we got something called Babylon Bounce. We're gonna do the Babylon Bounce. So let's get into the lesson and show you with history how we went astray with these head coverings. How we went astray with these head coverings. And we're gonna prove with scripture and history that they are from the Talmud. Do we practice the Talmud? No, they're from the Talmud. So let's go over our ancient fathers. Can you take us to Judges 13 and 5? So those at home, I hope you got your swords. We're going to stay on the presentation for a few slides. You should have your swords and fact check and verify everything, because we're Bereans. We no longer take anybody's word for anything. That's how we've been lost in Christianity. So please get your swords and follow along with us. The first one we go into, family, we're going to go over the ancient fathers, and let's go and check the great Samson out. Let's check Samson out, and let's go to Judges, Shapatyam or Judges 13. Shemami, you got it? 13 and 5. Read.
For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto Elohim from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Yasha'al out of the hand of the Philistines. Okay,
so we all know the story. If you came up in church, this is Samson, and his parents are getting this prophecy that your son is going to be a Nazarite. And a Nazarite means that you don't cut your hair and you don't drink. That's the Nazarite vow to the Most High. You're going to dedicate this boy you about to have to the Most High. You're not going to cut his hair, and he's not going to drink strong drink, and he's going to deliver the Israelites from under their Philistines. Right here, we're captives to the Philistines or Canaanites. So he says, don't cut his hair and don't let him drink. Let's drop down to Judges 16 and 19. Judges 16 and 19. Shimon? Read.
And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head, and she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him.
So y'all know the story. This is the wicked Delilah finally to moor him down, and Samson tells her, finally after lying to all these other women, Samson finally tells Delilah the truth on where his strength lies. And she lays him down on his head on her lap, and she cut how many locks?
7.
So Samson has 7 locks, and we know now, all praise be to Yah, we don't call them dreadlocks no more, because they're not dreadful, they're beautiful. So Samson had 7 beautiful locks on his head. So my question to the family is, if Samson had 7 locks and he never cut his head, how can he have a head covering on? How can he cover his head with 7 locks? Now I know y'all see the rosters today, they got those long pillowcases, and they throw their locks in there, but Samson got 7 locks and she just cut them off. Samson didn't have his head covered. Samson didn't have his head covered, family. That's the point we're driving home. Samson is an Israelite, and he's a deliverer. He's a Messiah. He's a Messiah, and he didn't have his head covered. He did not have his head covered. So the next one we're going to is the next one we're going to is Hezekiah. Hezekiah is also known as Ezekiel. Hezekiah means Yah is my help. Hezekiah means Yah is my help. Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 3. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 3. We're walking down the ancient customs of our forefathers. Ezekiel 8 and 3. Read.
And he put forth the form of an hand, and took me by a lock of mine head.
Took me by what?
A lock of mine head.
So here's the prophet Ezekiel, and he says an angel showed up while he's in the house talking to the elders, to the brothers, and this angel grabs him by the lock of his hair. Read on.
And the Rawat lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of Elohim to Yerushalayim.
This angel was so strong, he grabbed Ezekiel by a braid of his hair, and lifted him off the earth and took him around the city. If he had a head covering on, how can the angel grab him by a lock of his hair? Y'all see where I'm going with this? This is us restoring our ancient customs. This is us reclaiming our heritage. None of our forefathers had all their crown covered. That's what we're going to, family. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to 2 Shemaiah. 2 Shemaiah is Samuel. Let's go to 2 Samuel. And we're going to go over Absalom. Absalom. 2 Samuel 14:26. We're going to 2 Samuel 14:26. Shema, when you have it, read.
And when he polled his head, for it was at every year's end that he polled it, because the hair was heavy on him, therefore he polled it. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels after the king's weight.
So poll is an old-fashioned word for what?
Measure.
Cut.
Oh, okay.
He cut his hair. That's what the translation is. He cut his hair. Absalom is one of David's sons. And Absalom let his hair grow so long that he only cut it once a year. And his hair was so healthy. We're struggling while me and you getting old, but our hair grows. I'm struggling to grow hair now. But our hair was so healthy and so strong that it said Absalom's hair, he let his hair grow so long that it weighed 200 shekels. Anybody know how much 200 shekels weigh? Depending on what scholar you talk to, it's between 5 and 6 pounds. How do you hold down 5 or 6 pounds of hair under a head covering? Not only that, can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
Judah, Jerusalem is in where? Africa.
Hot.
It's hot. It's hot. Who wants to have a head? You got 6 pounds of hair stuffed inside a kufi. It's not practical. Here's Absalom, a Jew from the tribe of Judah, King David's son. He let his hair grow so long, he only cuts it once a year. And when you weigh it, it's about 5 to 6 pounds. There's no way he has a head covering on. Let's go to our next example. Let's go to, we got to go to the Apocrypha for this. We're going to the story of Bel and the dragon. Bel and the dragon, and it's only one, I think it's only one chapter. Let's go to Bel and the dragon. We're going to show you our ancient forefathers did not put on these kufis, these box top hats. It's definitely not the black hats. That's just Babylonish altogether. That's just ludicrous. Let's go to the story of Bel.
He was being facetious with that.
With what?
With his pose with that.
No, that's what they're called Hasidic. These fake Jews call that Hasidic. I'm a Hasidic Jew. When they wear those black top hats, they got divisions within their own community. If you dress like that, you're called a Hasidic Jew. You'll see them in northern New Jersey and in New York. They're called Hasidic Jews.
Yeah.
No, they talking about that brother?
Yeah.
No,
maybe he was trying to be facetious.
No, he went over there and they accepted him.
Oh.
They made him a Jew. How that works. So let's go to Bel and the dragon, and let's get the story about the prophet Habakkuk. This is Bel and the dragon, and we're going to read just verses 36 through 37. Habakkuk 1, 36 through 37. Read.
Then the angel of Yahweh took him by the crown and bore him by the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of his rawat set him in Babel over the den. So
David is in Babylon in the lion's den. Not David, SELAH, Daniel. Daniel, this is how the Most High, you know what, y'all in a rush? Let's get some context. Let's show you how great the Most High is and how much he loves us. So let's go to verse 30 to get some context. Verse 30. Read.
Now when the king saw that they had pressed him sore, being constrained, he delivered Daniel unto them, who cast him into the lion's den, where he was 6 days.
So Daniel broke the king's decree about praying. You couldn't pray. You only could pray to the statue. And Daniel says, I'm gonna pray to my Father, and I don't care who hears me. So Daniel was cast into the lion's den. But it says the king was pressed because he liked Daniel. He knew Daniel was a righteous man. So the king didn't even want to throw Daniel in the lion's den. But the Babylonians were like, King, you said whoever don't listen got to go into the lion's den. So the king didn't want to do it, but he says, all right, put Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel has been in his lion's den for 6 days. 32. Please mute your background, Force family. Please mute your background. Daniel was in the lion's den 6 days. Verse 32.
And in the den there were 7 lions, and they had given them every day 2 carcasses and 2 sheep, which then were not given to them to the intent they might devour Daniel.
So they said they had been feeding them, but now because they hate Daniel, these Babylonians are trying to get Daniel killed. They stopped feeding the lions so they eat Daniel up, right? Read on.
Now there was in Yahweh a prophet called Habakkuk, who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl that was going into the field for to bring it to the reapers.
So here's a Jew named Habakkuk, and this is what I want you to notice, family, especially you young teachers coming up. This Habakkuk is the same Habakkuk of the Tanakh in the whole Old Testament. He's a prophet. He's a prophet, and he's making bread. He's making food for the workers in the field. He's serving. He's not asking for the chief seat and give me a roll and send me money. He's going to feed the brothers working.
The first shall be last.
The first shall be last. He's not asking, call me Prophet Habakkuk. Where's my shekels at? Get up and stand before me, clap for me. No, he says, I'm going to take my brothers some food because they've been working in the field. That's a real servant. The servant should smell like the sheep. The servants should smell like the sheep. You got these people out here looking for prestige and Facebook views and YouTube views. You are a Pharisee. A real servant, do the work. You got to record every time you do something. I'm so sick of these people recording, giving homeless people money. You got your reward. The Messiah says, when you do your arms, don't do them before men to get praised. Oh yeah, I fed the homeless. We felt 500. Here's a video. No, that's wicked. You're taking a video of this man, he's down on his luck, and you do feel good. Look who I helped today. You're wicked. You're wicked. Here's a prophet, here's a servant doing the work of Yah, going to feed the people. Read on.
Go carry the dinner that you have. Verse 34, but the angel of Yahweh said unto Habakkuk, go carry the dinner that you have into Babel unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den.
What did he say,
Go carry the dinner that you have into Babel unto Daniel, who is in the lion's den.
So the angel's telling Habakkuk, take this food to Babylon. Verse 35. And
Habakkuk said, Adonai, I never saw Babel, neither do I know where the den is.
He said, I don't even know how to get to Babylon or where the den is. Verse 36.
Then the angel of Yahweh took him by the crown and bore him by the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of his rawat, set him in Babel over the den.
Habakkuk is home in Jerusalem. He didn't get sent to Babylon, but the angel appeared to him and said, go feed your brother. And these angels, family, they are coming in the spirit of Yah. They have no time for nonsense. So when he said, I don't even know where it is, that's when he said, he took it by the hand. Come on. Instead of saying, take me, the angels, the Yah we serve, these people don't understand who you're dealing with. These angels, they come in the spirit of Yah. So this angel said, come on, I'm taking you to Babylon. And he set him in front of the lion's den to feed Daniel. Now, what Daniel said when he seen him?
Verse 38, and Daniel said, you have remembered me, O Elohim, neither have you forsaken them that seek you and love you. So Daniel arose and did eat, and the angel of Yahweh set Habakkuk in his own place again immediately.
The angel, the father never forgot about Daniel. Daniel never gave up hope. If he slay me, I will not forsake him. That's who we serve. If he allowed them to take me, if he allowed them to lay me down, I'm not bowing to Babylon. I'm not taking your shot. I'm not eating your swamp. My Yah is able. Hallelujah.
I'm glad you said that, Morah, because that actually brought up something that I wanted to speak on.
We'd have got off topic.
just real quick. Me and Shamari, I was talking about it the other day, how potentially a what is it called? A biochemical weapon could be released and end up making everybody sick, because we've been talking about there potentially being another pandemic and another shutdown. And even Bill Gates and everybody have mentioned it too. But the book of Job was prominent when it came to me just thinking about the conversation, because a lot can be learned in regards to what people do moving forward, the decision they potentially make. You know, if there's a situation where the jabs that people are receiving now can be contagious and make others who are not been stuck with the needle sick. So what are you going to do? And remembering the account of Job, how he, no matter what, his flesh was rotten. He lost his family. It's pretty much the same situation that we potentially have to go through
right now.
You know, so just the fact that patience, endurance, quietly waiting on the Most High, even though, you know, he was complaining, but he never cursed the Most High.
This is where we at, family.
Yeah, that's where we at. So I just want to say that. But
I just wanted to point out that for the angel to take Habakkuk, but it says the crown of his head. That means Habakkuk has nothing on his head. He's a prophet. He's in Jerusalem, and his head is open. His crown is open. The custom of covering our crown is nowhere found in Tanakh. It's not Israelite culture, family. And we're going to give you some more precepts. Let's go back to the presentation.
I just wanted to say too, it proves that for me, it's another dot for like we the people. Because when he said, well, I don't even know where that is. I would say that. I know I would say that. But you don't want to go. Most High forgive me. Most High forgive me. But I said, dang, that sounds like something that I think all of us, like, well, I don't even know where Babylon is, the den or whatever. Like, and he didn't even have time. Like, look, you just hear it. Come on. But that was funny.
Yeah, these are real. That's why I love taking the religion out of our text. These are real people.
Yeah.
Moses says, Father, I can't even speak right. I got a speech impediment. But Moses says, take your brother then. These are real people.
Like, don't you tell? He's like, don't you know already?
I already know that.
But that's like a parent. That's ABBA YAH. He's like a parent. Like, you know, our parents get frustrated with us and come on, you snatch you up real quick. And so those things, just like the last script you talked about, where what was it? He was saying,
you're gonna be angry with you.
Gonna be angry with you. Like, oh, I was gonna take you here. You know how your mom be like, I was gonna take you here, but you done acted up. You messed that up.
That's what you told Ephraim. Yeah. I'm talking to you like a son. Now you messed that up. Now I gotta talk to you like you a heathen.
Yeah. Like you said, it just shows that was big for me. Like, cause you read it, it's like I'm reading some fairy tale magical book. But when you realize, like, no, this is your ancestors, this is your uncle, this is your grandfather, this is your people,
real people,
and they just saying the same stuff that you would say now. They were saying, like, man, I can't even talk right now. And then the thing, he was like, well, you gonna send me? Who should I tell them sent me? Then he said, well, tell them that I am sent you, because you can't really describe me. And then he was just like, but they ain't gonna believe me. That's our people don't believe nothing, because I'm not gonna believe you. So I just said, man, this is us.
These are real people. These are not these spiritual people floating that existed in the far land of Israel. These are real people with real feelings, real emotions, fear, angry, because Phinehas had anger. These are our ancestors, and the spirit in these ancestors are in us.
Two things that come to mind, because I've been dwelling on this for a while. Ever since when I first read this, and you said, prepare yourself before you pray to the Most High, because you don't want to say nothing crazy and then end up getting killed for it. I always think back of the dream I had when I was confronted by Yahushua, and then I read it in the book of Yahushua. How he was confronted the same way by Hamashiach. And he said, are you for us or against us? Pretty much, you for us or against us? So when Hamashiach was like, nah, I'm here in the name of my Father.
Yeah.
So the way Joshua responded, ever since I read that and really, really thought about what happened, it is just profound, because like Yahweh give us the humility and understanding to know your spirit and your messenger when you send them to us. Because entertaining Malachi unawares, man.
It's about to happen again. It's about to happen again, family. We can go on for that.
So
it's gonna happen again.
Real quick, Murray, I was just reading about all of the dragon, and just two things stuck out to me, and I wanted to ask at the same time of reading it. Going back to when Daniel in verse 38, it says, and Daniel said, you have remembered me, O Elohim, neither have you forsaken them that seek you and love you. He was in the den for 6 days. So I kept reading, and verse 40, it says, upon the 7th day, the king went to bewail Daniel, and when he came to the den, he looked in, behold, Daniel was sitting. Then cried the king with a loud voice, saying, great is Yahweh Elohim of Daniel, and there is none other beside you. So the 7th day, the Shabbat, the oath. So when Daniel said, you have remembered me.
Come on, y'all. This boy preaching. Y'all get.
O Elohim, and neither have you forsaken them that seek you and love you. Seek what? His rest. So that just stuck out.
Y'all got to get that in your spirit. The Most High sent him a Sabbath meal. He said, I got you, Daniel. I remember my oath. I remember my oath with your people. So here's a Sabbath meal. I got you. Hallelujah. That's why we're here today, family. We're here to remember his oath. When we come together, it's always Shabbat for us, because we remember it may not be the true Shabbat, but we together remember we have an eternal covenant. Shabbat means oath. We have an oath, and he sent Daniel some food on Shabbat to comfort Daniel. Hallelujah. Come on, we could be for hours. I tell you, when you come back to your culture, you could be for hours on one verse. That's how I love our culture. Hallelujah. Let's go to the next precept. Let's go to King Solomon, Malak Shalaman, or Malak Shalaman. Malak Shalaman is King Solomon. Let's go to King Solomon in Songs of Songs, the Songs of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 11. We're going over not all of them, but just enough to give you the ancient fathers, showing you they didn't have their crown, their heads covered in a kufi or a hat or anything, a head wrap or anything like that. Let's go to Songs of Solomon 5, verse 11. Shema, read.
His head is as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven.
His locks are bushy and black as a raven. If his locks are stuffed up in a kufi, how do you know they bushy? That's how I process these things. How do you know his locks are bushy and black if he got them covered in a wrap? How do you know this? You see how these translations fall short? Solomon, he don't have no turban. He doesn't have a turban that's done wrapped his whole head. He has a diadem on where you still can see his hair. That's our culture. This is King Solomon. If the king doing it, what do you think the people gonna do? We follow the king. So if Solomon's hair is out and I can see his locks are bushy, well, I want to be like King Solomon, because King Solomon was that dude. To put it in our terminology, King Solomon was glorious. So if King Solomon's locks are out, we know the people's locks are out. This is just more witnesses, family. We're just driving this home, family. So that was the ancient fathers. Let's go over Akawaf Nawa. Akawaf Nawa is our sisters. Our sisters. Nawa means our. Akawaf is sisters. Let's go over our sisters. Let's go over some ancient mothers. Some ancient mothers. let's go stay in the Song of Solomon. We're going to stay in the Song of Solomon. Let's go to chapter 6, verses 5 through 7. Song of Solomon, chapter 6, verses 5 through 7. Read.
Turn away thine eyes from me, for they have overcome me. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appear from Gilead.
Thy hair is what?
As a flock of goats that appear from Gilead.
If he sees her hairs as a flock of goats, how can she have her hair covered? That's how I process this. He's praising her hair and saying her hair is as a flock of goats. So if her hair is covered and she got her whole head wrapped like we've been practicing, how does he know her hair is like a flock of goats? Read on.
Thy teeth are as a flock of sheep which go up from the washing, whereof every one beareth twins, and there is not one barren among them. As a piece of pomegranate are thy temples within thy locks.
What does that mean? As a pomegranate are thy temples in thy locks. What does that mean? Anybody seen a pomegranate open it up?
Got a lot of seeds.
You see how it's deep in there? Queen, can you come up here? Turn the light on for it so people can see on camera. Can you see up here, Shamaria? Can you see up here on the screen? Oh yeah. So Nariah, read that verse one more time and turn to a side project. Is she on camera? Is she too short? She up there. So read that verse one more time.
As a piece of a pomegranate are thy temples within thy locks.
If you open a pomegranate up, family, a pomegranate has like these deep pockets, and inside those pockets are little fruit, little delicious little things. So he says your temples inside your locks is like the pomegranate. You see how deep her temples is inside her locks. So if her whole head is covered, how can he know her temples are like pomegranates? Her hair is not covered up in a bun like the sister's been doing. Read that one more time,
As a piece of a pomegranate are thy temples within thy locks.
Her temples are deep inside her locks like a pomegranate. If you don't believe me, go buy a pomegranate and cut it open. It's a bunch of compartments, got little red sweet fruits in them. That's how her temples are. If her head is all covered in a wrap, how does Solomon know her temples are deep like a pomegranate? Thank you, Queen. This is us taking back our culture. Our sisters didn't cover their whole head either. They wore the same thing we wore. It's a different style. So we got a diadem on or mitri on. The sisters do too. It's just for a woman. That's what it says. A woman shouldn't wear that pertains to a man. She's not gonna put on my diadem because it's for men. She's gonna make her own. Even if she takes a cloth, let's say we both take a piece of silk. She's not gonna fashion it like we fashion ours. You don't know how women have their own style. She's gonna form her diadem for a woman, not like a man.
Most of the time they tie it in the front.
I don't know how they did it in ancient Israel, but that's what it's saying here. The point we're driving home is if he's saying her temples are like the pomegranate, her temples are deep inside her locks, how is her head covered? Her head can't be covered, family.
And when you think about it, well, I'm just thinking about the book of Esther or Hadassah, when even though she was in another country, she would put a crown on, but that would kind of look weird if her head was covered and she put the crown on, wouldn't it?
Come. That's a great point. And now that you mentioned that, we're going to Hadassah. Then we're going to Naphtali. This is us reclaiming our culture, family. This is us reclaiming our culture. Let's go to the editions of Esther, chapter 14. The editions of Esther, chapter 14.
Shalom.
Our whole culture has been taken from us as part of the curses And now we got everybody reading third and fourth hand translations telling us where our culture is. And all praise be to ABBA YAH, he's restoring to us a little at a time. This is the additions to Esther chapter 14. So if you're not familiar with the Apocrypha, in the KJV, Esther stops at chapter 10 with like 2 verses. But when you get the Apocrypha, Esther has like 5, I think she goes to chapter, actually, she 16, goes 16. So if you're not familiar with the Apocrypha, they've chopped up our scrolls and told us what's canon, and that's Roman. We don't rely on Rome to tell us anything. So this is the part of Esther's story that got chopped out. Let's read the additions of Esther chapter 14, verse 2.
And laid away her glorious apparel, and put on the garments of anguish and mourning, and instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she humbled her body greatly, and all the places of her joy she filled with her torn hair.
So let's unpack this. Let's unpack what's being said here. This is after Hadassah, known as Esther. She's been married to the king of Persia, so she's a queen now. But what they're saying is she only wore that Persian apparel in front of public, in front of the king. When she went back to her own chambers, she took that garbage off because she says, I'm an Israelite. So when she got back to her own chambers, read that again, verse 2.
And laid away her glorious apparel, and put on the garments of anguish and mourning, and instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung.
Let's unpack that. Instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung. So how I process this, instead of putting on cami oil and what else would y'all use, olive oil, she put ashes and dung on side her head. But it didn't say that instead of wrapping her head, instead of covering her head, it says instead of putting precious ointments on her head, she covered her head with ashes and dung. Now, how many sisters you know are going to take the time to style her hair with ointments and then cover it up? It don't make sense. So our culture, even for the sisters, is not to cover their head. It's not to cover their head. I hope y'all can catch that.
I don't know. Sorry. I don't know if you're going there, but I keep thinking of when you talk about that in the Christian Greek scriptures, so-called New Testaments, where it tells a woman not to style her hair with the braidings.
Yeah, we're going there.
Okay, yeah. All right.
It's coming up. It's coming up. All praises. So we can see, even in ancient times, our Israelite mothers did not have all their head pushed up into a wrap or whatever you want to call it. This is not the culture of the Israelites. So let's go to another lost text. And this is the testament of Naphtali or Naphtali. Naphtali is one of the patriarchs of the 12 tribes. He's one of Jacob's sons. So all our forefathers, they never died mysteriously. They were always fasting and praying and repenting. And the Father, the Most High, always told them, I'm about to put you to sleep, so get your house in order. And the custom was, you'll call all your sons to your bedside, and you will prophesy over them. So you can find the testament of the patriarchs online, free of charge as PDFs. And this is the testament of Naphtali. And let's go, I'm trying to make it bigger. Let's go and show you what one of our patriarchs says. Oh, forgot what verse he was at. So this is the testament of one of our patriarchs named, in the Greek, they call him Naphtali, but we know that's a butchered of his name. Let's read verse 20. Verse 20.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, verse 20.
For Elohim made all things good in their order, the 5 senses in the head, and he joined on the neck to the head, adding to it the hair, also for comeliness and glory.
The hair for what?
Comeliness and glory.
The hair is for comeliness and what?
Glory.
What does glory mean?
Honor, beauty.
Y'all right on. Y'all right on.
Esteem, fashion.
Y'all right on. All y'all saying, everything y'all saying is true. The Most High made the hair for comeliness and for glory. So if he made the hair for comeliness, that means for you to feel beautiful. So why would you want to wrap that up? Why would you want to wrap that up if he made it for comeliness and then for glory?
SELAH. Yeah, Gerald. He said it's the Testament of Naphtali. It's a lost book. The testaments of the patriarchs, all 12 sons got writings. That's what he was reading from.
Isn't that in the book of Adam and Eve? Or what book is that?
You could buy them separately. You could buy them separately, or you could just download them. Different sites got them. Some sites got them individually. Try to find a site that got them all together.
Okay.
I think I have a PDF with them all together. But they're out there. You don't have to buy them. It's a free PDF. So our patriarch Naphtali says their hair is for glory and comeliness. Can y'all use the Blue Letter Bible again? And let's look up the word glory. Let's look up the word glory. It should be Strong's number 3519. Strong's 3519. And whilst one of y'all getting that, can we get Exodus 28:2? Somebody get Exodus 28:2. This is us taking back our culture from these people. You're not going to tell me how to be an Israelite. You're not going to tell me what my fathers want me to do. I'm going to read what my father wants me to do. You got Exodus 28:2? Read Exodus 28:2, Nariah, please.
And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty.
So the priest's garments are for glory and for beauty. The Most High has no problem with us being jiggy. We're not supposed to be looking like poor peasants.
Prestige.
We're supposed to be, we ain't supposed to be our drawers showing. So you ain't supposed to have every inch of your circumference, your butt just can be measured. No, but we do get beauty. We do get beautified, but it's righteous beauty. So the same word used in Exodus 28 for glory is used in for comeliness and glory. It's Strong's 35:19. What you got for that, Ab?
One second. Let's see.
And while we go there, you can go ahead and get Matthew 5:15 ready. Somebody get Matthew 5:15 ready. Queen, you got that?
Yeah, I'll get that.
Let's go over to the definition for honor. Strong's 35:19.
It says glory, honor, glorious, abundance, riches, honor, splendor, glory, dignity, reputation, reverence, glory.
The most used word for glory is it kabod there?
Mm-hmm.
Kabod. So kabod can be used as honor your mother and father, but it's also can be used as to be glorious, to be beautiful. Splendor means what? Shine. If something is splendorous, it's brilliant, it's shiny, it's dazzling, it's attractive to the eye. So the Most High gave women hair for comeliness and glory, for you to shine. Queen, can you read Matthew 5:15 for us, please?
Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel.
Why would you put something that God gave you for glory to shine and put it under a bushel? That's not our culture. That's not our culture. So a woman stuffing her hair into those wraps is not in this text. Her hair is to be glorious, to be comeliness, to shine. But don't forget who has you shining. Never forget who cleaned you up. You ever see that brother who forget he was a crack addict? That sister who forgot she was a crack addict? Or now you shined up and now you telling people how? No. So we get cleaned up. We put our garments on. We don't forget who making us shine. But a woman is not, culturally, she don't put all her hair up into a wrap. It's not the culture. It's not the culture. So let's go to the next precept. Let's go to Yahweh, and this is translated as Judith. Let's go to Judith chapter 10, verse 3. Judith 10 and 3, and then we're going to go over to verse 15, 12 through 13. Judith chapter 10 and 3, and then we're going to Judith 15, verses 12 through 13. This is us taking back our culture. This is us being Bereans. Judith has a wonderful story. If you never read the story of Judith, please read her story in its entirety when you get a chance. Judith chapter 10, verse 3.
And pulled off the sackcloth which she had on, and put off the garments of her widowhood, and washed her body all over with water, and anointed herself with precious ointment, and braided the hair of her head, and put on the tire upon it. She
braided the hair of her head and put on a tire upon it. If you have your text, I want you to underline, put on a tire upon it. So the story of Judith, the backstory for Judith, her husband died and she had been in mourning for 3 years. She didn't get herself made up for 3 whole years. Now today's woman is not built like that. As soon as that dirt touched that casket, she done cashed a check and she's looking for the next one. But this sister was in mourning for her husband for 3 years. Now she's about to save our nation. A sister is about to save our nation. And now she's putting off her mourning clothes and she's getting herself back beautified. She's braiding her hair back up and she's putting a tire upon it. She put a tire upon it. I'm driving that home for a point. She put a tire upon her hair. Let's go over to verse chapter 15. Judah 15, verses 12 through 13. This is us taking back our culture. Judah 15, verses 12 through 13.
Then all the women of Israel ran together to see her, and blessed her, and made a dance among them for her. And she took branches in her hand, and gave also to the women that were with her.
And what they do?
And they put a garland of olive upon her and her maid, and was with her. And she went before all the people in the dance, leading all the women and all the men of Israel.
And all the who?
All the men of Israel.
All the who?
All the men of Israel.
And what they do?
Followed in their armor with garlands and with songs in their mouths.
So the Most High has granted favor to Judith, and she killed our enemy. Now she's returned back home with his head in a bag, and now they're dancing. They're line dancing. They're not doing the wobble or nothing like that, but they're dancing to Yah with garlands on their head. With garlands on their heads. They're electric sliding.
Close.
They're electric sliding the victory that Judah just got for our nation, and now they're putting on garlands on their heads. Let's show you what garlands of olive looks like. This is a garland of olive leaves. And it says who? The men too? The men too. So what we got on in here, us brothers, we have a garland around our heads, an old-fashioned word for a diadem. So not only do the sisters put this on, but the brothers too. That means you can see my locks. You can see the crown of my head. This is our culture. We don't stuff our hair up into these wraps. We don't cover our crowns. Men nor the sisters do we cover our crowns. We are partying to Yah. We're praising Yah with garlands of olive leaves around our crowns. This is our culture. Now, I go ahead,
I'm sorry. And I'm probably going ahead again because you're hitting some stuff and you probably go there. But I'm thinking of the offensive way that Hamashiach, how they put the thorns similar to that around his head and beat it on his head. You know, they didn't cover his hair, but it looked similar to that. It's just the opposite by being the thorns, being offensive.
No, I didn't have that. That's a good precept. I didn't catch that. I didn't even think about that. But that's a good one. If our culture had been covered up, Hamashiach head wasn't covered. They gave him a crown of thorns. Wow, that's a great Berean eye right there. Khan. See, we could be. That's why I love getting together. You see how everyone sees something different. That's why I love getting together, family. So I asked that y'all underline that phrase tire. This is a tire, family. This is a tire. That's not the whole wheel of your car. The wheel of your car is this and a rim. But it says, the translation says, Judith put a tire upon her hair. So did she put a real tire on her hair? No, she put something. The Hebrew word is Strong's H6287. Guess what the word is? Par. Y'all remember that word par? Param. Something's missing from the beginning. So the same word for tire is par. She put a par around her locks. She didn't cover her hair, family. She put a tire upon her hair. Let's go to Judges 6. Let's go back to Judith 16 and 8. I won't pull it out. I want to keep this image on the screen. Somebody go to Judith 16 and 8. Queen, you need a pocket for got it? Let's go to Judith 16 and 8. Judith put a tire upon her hair.
For she put off the garment of her. Oh, wait a minute. You wanted me to go back to this?
Judith 16 and 8. She just retelling what happened. That's all.
She put off the garment of her widowhood for the exhilaration of those that were oppressed in Israel, and anointed her face with ointment, and bound her hair in a tire.
So Judith is making up a song on the spot. Sound familiar? She's rapping. She's poetry. She's making a song of praise up on the spot as they're partying, and she's retelling the story how the Most High raised up the daughter of Zion, and she put a tire upon her hair. She put a par on her hair. She put something and wrapped her braids up. That's what she did. She didn't cover her whole head. She put a tire on. Let's go to Ezekiel 24 and 17. Ezekiel 24 and 17. Shema, when you have it. Ezekiel 24, verse 17. Shema. Anybody? You got a mic? Anybody read it?
Forbear to cry. Make no mourning for the dead. Bind the tire of thy head upon thee, and put on thy shoes upon thy feet, and cover not thy lips, and eat not the bread of men.
So here is the Most High talking to Ezekiel about his wife dying. Ezekiel, the Most High just says, your wife is going to die, and I don't want you to mourn for your wife. Brothers, the life of a prophet is serious. Don't take up the mantle if you haven't built your fortitude up. This is a serious walk. You can't be so soft-hearted listening to your wife or your woman or your mother. When the Most High, you tell the Most High you want to work for him, you got to work for him. Ezekiel's wife is dying, and what did the Most High tell Ezekiel, verse 17?
Forbear to cry.
Forbear to cry. Don't cry. Don't shed a tear. Read on.
Make no mourning for the dead.
Don't bury her. You can't have a ceremony for her. Read on.
Bind the tire of thy head upon thee.
Now he's telling Ezekiel, a man, bound the tire upon your head. That's what we have on. Just the same word. So Again, we have no gender in our culture. The word for tire for a man is the same for a woman. It's just that we got different styles. Just like today, a sister wear pants. My wife don't wear my pants. She better not come in no leaves from the men's section. Like, yo, don't fit kind of funny. Like, where you get those from? She has pants from the women's section. This is our culture. So Ezekiel, he's telling Ezekiel, put your tire on your head. It's the same thing for a woman. It's not, his head is not covered. He has a part on. He has a diadem on. So how did we get so jacked up, family? How did we get so jacked up with all this doctrine out here? How was the Torah Group teaching false doctrine? I didn't do it on purpose. It was me not knowing the culture. I did it out of ignorance. So things get lost in translations. And let's go and show you the first place that they take you to tell sisters they got to be covered up. Let's go to Bamadabar. Bamadabar means in the wilderness. It's also known as Numbers. Bamadabar or Numbers 5 and 18. Let's take you to where I taught it because that's what I thought was right. I didn't do it, out of spite. I thought this was right. All praise be to ABBA YAH now. He's giving me more understanding. Numbers 5 and 18. Shemai? Read.
And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is the jealousy offering. And the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causes the curse.
So this is where they take the sisters to. They see you got to have your head covered. What's going on here, family, in Numbers 5 and 18, we have a custom of jealousy. If you think your wife has been cheating on you, you can have her tested with the curse of jealousy. And you take her to the priest or to the temple, and the priest is going to give her the curse of jealousy. And if she drink this mixture, and if she's guilty of fornication, adultery, she's going to die. Her stomach's going to swell, and she's going to die. So this is serious. No woman would keep lying knowing what's about to happen to her. She's going to go ahead and confess, yeah, I did it, so because I'm going to die anyway. Her husband can have her killed or divorced. So she's not going to risk going to the temple and getting this curse if she's lying. But here's the part they take you to. That part, read it again. Uncover her hair.
And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is the jealousy offering. And the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causes the curse.
So they say, see, she went and uncovered herself, meaning she was covered. Let's go back to the Blue Letter Bible, and let's look up that word for cover. Let's look up that word for cover. And I'll do it for the people on the screen too. We're going to look up that word for cover and show you how things get lost in translation. So
you looking up the word uncover?
Yeah, but you're gonna look up uncover. So if you're not familiar with the Strongs, you can go here and search for words, and we're gonna type in uncover. And the scriptures come up, and that was Numbers 5 and 18. Numbers 5 and 18 is right here. I click on tools, and it parses the scriptures out for us. And the word for uncover is right here. It's Strong's H6544. And look what it is. Parai. Parai. P-R-I. Parai. Let's read what parai means.
That's a tire, look.
There's a tire. There's a tire. Parai. To lead, act as a leader, to let go, to loose, ignore, let alone, to let go, let loose. So what's the only context that makes sense with the woman uncovering her hair in front of the priest?
She untying her diadem.
She's unbraiding her hair. she's unbraiding her, she's letting her hair down. So has she got her hair cornrowed or twisted? The priest says, now uncover yourself, unlock your hair. That's what he's saying. Let your hair loose. If you got it up, pin up, let it down. Take those bobby pins out. Let your hair fall. Not take your cover off. Let your hair loose. Parad. You see how things get lost in translations? Again, that verse, that word is parad. This is a P-R-I. This is, in our ancient text, this would be the letter, the picture of an eye. And we would say parad. Parad means to let go, let loose. So let's go back to the presentation. And this is a woman who's let her hair loose. This is parad. She let her hair loose. That's what the priest just told her, not to take off your head garment. He said, let your hair loose. Unloose your hair. Unbraid your hair. Things get lost in translation, family. So the next thing they tell sisters, well, Rebecca covered herself when she saw Isaac. Rebecca covered herself when she saw Isaac. I taught it. Someone taught it to me. I said, yeah, I see it right here in the book. Rebecca covered herself when she met Isaac. So that's part of the culture. Let's go to it. Let's go to Bereshit 24, verse 65. Genesis chapter 24, verse 65. Let's go take a look at our matriarch, Rebecca, who she married Isaac. She was the mother of she's the mother of Jacob. This is Jacob's mother. This is our grandmother. Let's go to Rebecca, and we're going to go to Genesis 24, verse 65. Shimon?
Shimon.
Read.
For she had said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. So
Rebecca has agreed to go back and marry Abraham's son, our patriarch Isaac. Now they're approaching Isaac, and she's asking, who's that man coming towards us? And Abraham's servant is saying, that's my master. And when she recognized, or when he said that, Rebecca covered herself. So they say, see, it's culture for women to cover themselves when they're around men. Now, I'm not going to go back for sake of time, but Strong's 3680 is the word that they used there. This time, the text didn't use the word parai, it used the word kasa. Kasa is a different word than parai. It has different letters. We just showed you in the Blue Letter Bible, parai means to loosen, but the word kasa doesn't mean to loosen. It actually means to cover. So Rebecca did cover herself. But the question we got to ask, we can't stop at the text. The question we got to ask, family, where was Rebecca raised? Where was she raised? Let's go to Genesis 24, verses 2 to 4. Let's find out where Rebecca was raised at, family.
You said 24.
Genesis 24, verses 2 to 4.
Chaldee.
We got a Berean in the house. Rebecca is from Chaldee. Chaldee of the aka what? Babylon. She covered herself up because that's her culture. Rebecca is not an Israelite. She married the father of the Israelites. Rebecca is coming from Babylon. That's their culture. Do we practice Babylonian culture here? No. Genesis 24, verses 2. Read.
And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of the house that ruled over all that he had, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by Yahweh, the Elohim of heaven and the Elohim of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac.
Abraham was so serious that he wanted his servant Eliezer to know. The text cleans it up. Abraham says, put your hand on my scrotum. and you swear on my scrotum, you will not take one of these Canaanites where I'm dwelling at for my son's wife. Abraham says, I'm feeling old, I'm getting ready to go to sleep, but promise me, Eleazar, don't take these Canaanite whores for my son. Go back to my land where I'm from. It wasn't his land, remember, y'all. He was born there. So he said, Eleazar, go back to where I came from, to where the Most High brought me from, and find a wife for my boy Isaac. That's what he's telling Azar. So Abraham was so serious, he says, swear on my loins, Eleazar, that you're not going to stay here in Canaan and pick a wife for my son. Go back to my land.
That's a good point. That's a good point that you bring this up, Marah, just because the whole promise started with Abraham. So, even though Rebecca was such a diadem of a wife to our father Isaac, it's easy to read over that and completely forget.
She's not part of the culture.
Yeah,
Isaac had to teach her.
Yeah.
As we supposed to teach our women, our wives, Isaac had to teach her. You coming from Babylon? No, don't make my food like that. No, we don't put watermelon and peaches together. No. So these are real people. So you imagine Rebecca probably gave some pushback, but because the Rawat was over that family, Rebecca winds up, because Yah will always show that I'm with this man. And when that woman got sense, like, wow, Yah's with him, she gets in line. So here's Babylon, family. All that brown, light brown, that's the whole where Babylon conquered. You see Cappadocia, the Black Sea, Ephesus. Babylon was one of the first to conquer the world. Nimrod was their first ruler. That little yellow streak, that's the of the Chaldees. And how you recognize ancient lands on maps, always go towards the water. Always find the water, because the waters have not changed. They may change names, but the waters, the shapes of the waters don't change too much. So right now we have the Persian Gulf, right? Iraq. So y'all see the Persian Gulf on the left, and y'all see you come up out the water, you see This is where Father Abraham was born and raised at. He's not a Babylonian, he just was raised here. And you see Babylon. Now, you go up, now this second map is the same. You see the Persian Gulf here. It's the same map, but Nahor, this is where Eleazar found Rebecca at. He found her in the city of Nahor, but it's still Babylon. Babylon's in charge of the whole world. So Babylon put their customs on the whole world. So Rebecca covered herself because Babylon's culture was to do that, not because the Israelite culture was to do that. So Rebecca was doing what her culture said to do. Isaac didn't tell her to do that. Eleazar didn't tell her to do that. It was her culture because she was raised in Babylonish culture. Always check the context of who's talking, family.
That's important to know when you start getting into Paul's writings too, to understand the difference between Helene and ethnos when they use that word Gentiles.
You have to go beneath the surface. If you just read things at face value and just take the English as a trustworthy language, you're gonna be lost. The English is a dirty language. These translations are muddled up. Rebecca covered herself because it's Babylonish culture. It's not Israelite culture. Now, let's go back to the Tanakh and let's check the curse that was prophesied on Israelite women. Let's check the curse that was prophesied on Israelite women. Let's go back to Yashayahu or Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 3, verse 17. Isaiah chapter 3, verse 17. Shema, you have it?
Shema.
Isaiah 3 and 17. Read.
Therefore Yahweh will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion.
Hold on, wait a minute. Read that again.
Therefore Yahweh will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion.
As part of the punishment for the sisters, the Israelite sisters getting puffed up and trusted in their beauty, the Most High says, I'm going to smite the crown of your head with a scab. I'm going to smite the crown of your head with a scab. Let's unpack this. Is the Most High a fool?
No.
What sense would it make the smite a woman's crown with a scab if she covers her head all the time? Who can see what the Most High did to her? Y'all follow me? The Most High, why would the Most High say that? What kind of punishment is that to take your beauty if you always got your crown covered up? The Most High is not foolish. So for the fact he said, I'm going to smite the crown with a scab is a context clue. Sisters didn't have their crown covered.
That's what Paul was saying. If I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, if a woman shaves her head, it's almost as if she's naked. So when you keep reading, it says, and Yahweh will discover their secret parts.
This is the cultural part of the text that Christianity don't get. All they get is Christology. Christ came and now is love. All you got to do is focus on Christ. You miss the culture. You miss the culture. This, you got something?
Well, just the woman's hair is her glory. So.
And that's what we would know. Glory is what? To shine.
Yeah.
You put glory under a bushel? It's our culture has been taken from us, family. Now we got it's nobody to blame but ourselves. Go ahead, Al.
It's ironic to counteract that, to counteract the scab upon the crown of their head, they gotta wear wigs, which essentially covers the curse, So
you running from the curse.
Yep.
You're trying to avoid his curse. Wow. Go ahead, Al. I'm sorry.
Something else.
You was bringing up, Al.
No, that's it. Yeah, it's just funny how to counteract what he cursed them with, they have to cover it with wigs or with other things to try to hide it, so to regain their beauty. So that shows that there was no covering initially.
And it also shows that due to our spiritual sleep, we've been indoctrinated and conditioned to not only hate our beauty and glory, our natural beauty and glory, but to love our oppressor's beauty and glory. Because when you see our sisters buying these wigs and all of that stuff, you don't see them buying hair like us. They be buying straight, stringy.
I thought you was going to take it to Brazilian. I thought you was going to take it to just like the Noah days. I started bowing down, says, Father, help me. You're the source of my beauty. Oh, I don't need the Most High. I just go buy this $200 front lace. My skin is dry and ashy, and no matter what I put on it, instead of saying, well, y'all, you gave me the skin, well, I just buy some. You see when I fall messed up, y'all?
I get some skin lightener.
I get some skin lightener. That's how messed up we are.
And in a sense, it's almost a way for them to keep us away from the Most High by having our women cover their head up.
All this stuff we lose, fam, because we don't. I know my wife came in. When she came in, she finally started doing her study. She's like, babe, everybody's just keep on the identity thing. We know who we are. Like, I want to hear something different. I say, babe, because so much of our existence rely on who we are. When you don't know who you are, you don't know that you can't grow hair because you curse, you go buy wigs. Instead of saying, Father, I'm your daughter. I repent for my sins. I'm coming back to your laws. Restore my beauty.
I was just talking to somebody about that, understanding who you are. For one, we are the sons and daughters of the prophets, for one. Two, Paul said that we are the oracles of the Most High.
The oracles.
That means we can talk to him and he will listen and respond to us.
This thing is people gonna figure this thing out when it's too late. Don't wait till my skin is glowing like Moses. Now you want to talk to me. No. Now this power is only for the ones who repented.
Be gone, peasant.
Be gone. Depart from. Don't wait till the Shekinah glory is back over us and we're healing people. Don't come ask me where that precept at. Now's the time to ask me about these precepts. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 3, verse 18. Chapter 3, verse 18.
In that day, Yahweh will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet and their calls and their round tires like the moon.
Take away their cause and their round, there go tires again, like the moon. Take away their tires again, but cause is a new translation. Somebody pull up the Strong's for me and type in that word cause. Let's go back to the Blue Letter Bible and type in cause for me. And let's see what that definition is. Strong's number is 7636. The Hebrew word is shabash. I'm going to take away their shabash. What is that? What is that definition for cause?
It says netting for the hair, interweave. From an unused root meaning to interweave, a netting for the hair. Called.
Old school lunch lady. Y'all remember the old school lunch lady? The net.
Yeah.
They got that from Israelites. So it's still with the netting, a net has what? Oh, I can see your locks. This is us taking our culture back. He says, I'm going to take away your cause and your tires. I'm going to take away everything that y'all relying on for your beauty, because I am the source of your beauty. Not what you're putting on, it's me. You forgot about me, and now you think these garments and these jewelry is making you beautiful. I'm making you beautiful. Not that their hair is covered up. Let's keep going down to verse 23. The punishment continues. This is all for the sisters. Verse 23, Isaiah 3:23.
The glasses and the fine linen and the hoods and the veils. I'm
going to take away your hoods and your veils, your hoodies and your veils. I'm going to take away your hoodie and your veil. Let's look up Strong's 6797 for hoods. Somebody look up hoods for me.
It says a headdress that is a piece of cloth wrapped around, diadem, hood, tree.
The Hebrew word is zanap. I'm going to take away your zanap. It's a mitri. And this is all for the sisters. So yes, the sisters don't cover their hair. They wear the diadems. What's the modern word for a diadem the Spanish people use? Tiaras. Tiaras. They have pretty tiaras in their head. The Most High says, I'm taking away your mitri, your zanaps. I'm taking that away from y'all. What's the word for veil? Somebody look up veil. Strong 7289. What's the word for veil? These translations are garbage. What comes up for veil?
From H7286, in the sense of spreading a veil as expanded, veil,
Radad.
That's the only.
Punch in 7289 and get the related one to it. I think it says a little bit better in their definition. Radad, or click on the one, the other form of it, because it says like a shawl, a cloak. I'm gonna take away your cloak. You rely on your mink fur coat, your cloak. I'm gonna take that away from you. So one of the definitions for radad, it says cloak at the bottom. I put in there, it was Strong 7289. Did that come up?
Yeah, I see it in the Strong. They gave an example in Jacinius Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. It says a wide female garment, a cloak.
See, it's a cloak, a radad. So I'm not taking the translation say veil, and because we're raised in Greek, we're thinking the veil that the bride and stuff wear. No, he says it's in our context. Your cloak, your pretty little cloak, your silk linen cloak that you like to parade around, like you all that. I'm taking away everything that you think make you beautiful. So it's not a veil. Our women never veil themselves like the Muslim women do with the hijab, only showing their eyes. That's not our culture. That's not our culture. I'm gonna show you where that comes from. So,
real quick, Moray, did you skip? I mean, you might have been skipping, but did you catch 20?
What you got for 20?
Bonnets.
Yeah, I was going to skip that, but go ahead.
No, you good then.
Because it's the same thing.
Okay.
This is let's somebody punch in bonnets since we're there, because there's another one, verse 20. Nariah, read verse 24, where it says bonnet.
The bonnets and the ornaments of the legs and the headbands and the tablets and the earrings.
So it said headbands right there in black and white. What's the word for bonnets there?
Turban or headdress.
Par.
Yeah.
So again, these translations, we're getting everything from the Greeks and the Latins. Our sisters didn't have on bonnets like those Amish people wear. They had on mitres, their own diadems. I told my queen, I was breaking down, I was like, babe, I put myself out there. I said, babe, I was teaching false doctrine. And I says, when I read this verse, the sisters in the 80s used to have these plastic, what y'all call them, babe?
Tuck combs.
Those tuck combs.
Mm-hmm.
And they became stylish. They'll match them up with their little dresses.
Oh, yeah.
You know, had you mess around following her on the playground the whole time. You know, she got a red little hook comb, matching her little shoes.
Little colored ribbons. Yeah.
That's what the sisters are wearing here. They're not wearing hats and wraps over their heads. We live in Africa, family. Jerusalem is in Africa. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but let's let it flow. We don't have to worry about women, because the premise about this doctrine that the women should stay covered is for modesty. And they feel like women should stay covered so men stay focused and all this stuff and don't trip the men up. Well, family, on the far left of your screen is a diagram of Solomon's temple. And I made it as big as I can without losing both of the images. But you can Google this on your own. There's a lot of great images of Solomon's temple up. They even got some 3D images. I love them. But a sister wouldn't even be around us back home. When we get back home and these heathens build our next temple, it's going to be in the same form as Solomon's temple. So, hey, I'm telling you, that's what it is. The ones, Rome and France, they're building our temple for us. While me and you eating grapes. Hey, you drop some cement right there. Pick that up. The heathen's going to build our temple, family. It's going to be formed just like Solomon's temple. And y'all see that court of the women? The women don't fellowship with us inside temple worship. They have their own area. It's the court of the women. That's where most of the women stays. Now, after service, you see the court of the Israelites. If you turn turn sideways, the court of the Israelites, that's like a courtyard. Imagine yourself on college campus and inside a little square courtyard. Yeah. So the court of the women, they would stay here doing service, and they can hear. They got holes. The temple is beautiful. They got holes and stuff, and there's no roof, so they can hear what the preacher's saying. They can hear Torah being read, but they don't go past here for service. Now, after service, if you're clean, meaning it's not your cycle, you're not going through your menses, and you're married, you could come in here with your husband. See the court of the Israelites? So the sisters who are married and you're clean, because if you were going through your menses, you wouldn't even come to temple. You'll stay home with your servants, and you'll have your own house for your time of your menses, and she'll be served. So if a sister is clean, she's coming to the temple, but she's staying in the court. Now, after service, if she's married, she could join her husband and the other married women in the court of the Israelites. On the right of your screen is Josephus' record. Josephus is a Levite. Y'all know the story of Josephus. He went to Rome and became a Roman. So he took on the Roman name of Flavius. The Israelites looked at him as a Benedict Arnold. But without Josephus' records, we would have a lot of our history has been lost. So this is what Josephus records about the temple, the court of the women, and this is right on Wiki. According to the historian Flavius Josephus, in his book, The War of the Jews, book 5, chapter 5, the court of the women had 3 gates, one from every direction. In his book against ABBA YAH, book 5, chapter 8, the court of the women was described as a courtyard that allowed both sexes to mix. Into the first court, everybody was allowed to go, even foreigners. Even who? Even foreigners, even strangers. Righteous strangers can come into the court of the women. You know, we got Levites there. Don't play no games. You go sit back down. So strangers are going to be in the court of the women, praising and worshiping Yah with us. But you can't go no past this court because you are a stranger. That's the book. That's the book. So into the first courtyard, everybody was allowed to go, even foreigners, and none but women during their courses were prohibited to pass through it. All the Jews went into the second court, as well as their wives. That's the court of the Israelites. When they were free from all uncleanness, into the third court of the Israelites, went in the Jewish men when they were clean and purified. So I must have got it wrong. Maybe the Nicanor gate must for the women if they were clean. Because there's the court of the women, though that little rainbow looking thing is labeled as steps. So the court of the women has steps, and then you go into the Nicanor gate. I guess that's where the wives would go with their husbands. But the court of the Israelites are only for Israelite men.
That's almost like the Muslims, right? Don't the Muslims have that set up like that?
They're sons of Abraham. They're sons of Abraham. So this is putting our culture back. A woman don't have to be all covered around us, because in temple service, you're not going to be with us anyway. You're not going to be with us anyway. So where did this doctrine come from? Why was the Torah group teaching false doctrine? Where did we get this from? It was taught to me. I saw the precepts. I had to understand at the time. Where did all this come from? We're going to go over an ancient document where Gerald was hitting on earlier about Paul's letter. We're going to go over this ancient document, not ancient document, but it's going over ancient history of the world, and it touches upon the Israelite culture. And this is also I found online. And I hope y'all sitting down.
Mara, I just wanted to ask, because I was talking to Shamaria a few months ago about this. In Leviticus 14, it talks about making an atonement for your house if it has like an outbreak of some mold or something like that. So if a woman's menstrual cycle is on and they go into their other house, does that make the house unclean too?
That house is just for that. So that house will stay unclean.
So how would that go in the kingdom? Would that be outside of the kingdom, or would that be in?
You mean inside the city?
Yeah.
I think it is inside. I can't say for sure. I think it's because it's going to be on her husband's land. Her husband, well, we're going to get our land back.
Yeah.
So you're going to have land enough to have your wife's guest house, I would say. So it's going to be on your property.
Okay.
It's just that she can't come in the main house and defile the main house. Okay. But that house, her servants would be with her, and her servants remain defiled with her. Yeah. That's just the culture.
Remember the book we had where it showed in the front of the Bible how everything was set up, how the Levites, where the Levites were. Remember that Bible we had? Was it the Blue Bible?
The Blue Bible.
The one where in the first couple of pages it showed.
Oh yeah, it's at the house. Oh. It's at the house. I try to bring it, but Josephus has the best record. Josephus has a book with images that he drew of Israel, and I got a PDF of it. I'll be trying to save up and get the hard copy. But you can download a PDF. I forgot what it's called, but Josephus drew diagrams of all our ancient landmarks in Jerusalem. And, man, it just gives you pride about who we are. It gives you pride about who we are. So this is an online website I found, and it says head covering customs of the ancient world, right? And we know everything got lightened up in the Renaissance period, but down in the bottom right corner of the screen, it says this is a woman, and it says a Greek headband. But we know, family, now that those nations came and copied off us. So this Greek-looking woman, and also we got records that the real ancient Greeks are dark people too. But if this Greek woman is wearing this style head covering, it's because she got it from us. And this is matching what we just went over in our Tanakh, the tire, the bonnet, the net. This is more closer to the style that our sisters wore. So I'm gonna try to make this big. I'm gonna need y'all to help. We can skip the Greek customs, Roman head coverings. We can skip all that. We can go to the Jewish customs. And when it says Jewish, we know it means Israelite. And y'all see here, this is supposed to be Ezra reading the law, and they did the best they can to keep him dark, to make him not appear to be, Negroid. But we know, you see that fro, we know the truth. So if y'all can start reading,
They really, I hate them. I'm sorry. I hate them. I told them that the other night, like, what, 2 nights ago?
are you jealous?
Hmm?
You jealous?
I just don't, they some thieves, man.
That's the curses on him.
Yeah.
His brother under the curse, y'all.
It's crazy.
So if you can start reading the beginning of this paragraph, this is the custom of the Israelites. As indicated, you got.
Yeah. Real quick, just saying, they gonna take the time to do each individual picture, each stat like that. How? That's just crazy. As indicated above, many of the Jews of the first century were Hellenized, having adopted many of the customs of which set them apart from their Gentile neighbors. God had said, after the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Leviticus 18 and 3. Also Deuteronomy 12, 29, 32, and 2 Kings 17, 13 through 15.
All right, let's go down to speak to the people.
Speak to the people of Israel and tell them to make tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a cord of blue on the tassel of each corner. And it shall be a tassel for you to look at and remember all the commandments of Yahweh.
To do them,
not to follow after your own heart and your own eyes, which you are inclined to whore after.
So everything we do here at the Torah Group inside, we can show it to you. We're not making anything up. And if we can't show it to you, like we can't show you where any Israelite man or woman had their entire crown covered, we don't practice it. We have to let it go. And that's what we're doing today. We can't show you no ancient text in our Tanakh or any ancient writing that says all the Israelite men or women covered their whole crown. Our heads or our diadems or our head coverings. So I'm just going to cherry pick some of this stuff for the sake of time. Let's go to regarding head coverings.
Regarding head coverings, some biblical commentators in the past maintained that the custom observed in medieval times, in which Jewish men wore prayer shawls on their head, prevailed in the first century, so that Paul's instruction regarding the...
Will we make it smaller?
Yeah, you can.
As long as you can see it. Still can't get, that's too small, ain't it?
No, I can see it.
What was that, Paul? This website's so big.
Yeah, I don't know how they format like that. I think you can.
Can I copy and paste this into the Safari and do that read mode?
That's what I was thinking, something similar. I was like, I think we found a reading mode.
I know
like,
Safari got a reading mode. I'm not sure about I'm not sure about. Let me copy and paste this.
But that's what I had saw like maybe 2 weeks ago or something, like they had a reading mode.
Let me see. Because this is too important. This is going to really bring it home. All right. So how do I get to read?
I think it's those glasses on the side. Is that it? On my phone. Or check that those 3 lines at the top inside the gray box.
Show reader view. Yeah.
Yeah. I somehow stumbled upon that by accident.
Praises. Thank you, Rabat.
I'm glad you remember, because I was just thinking, I was like, I think there's a reading mode or something.
So those online, I pray you can see this a little bit better now. We're going to go back to the customs of the Israelites.
Now you can zoom in if you want, like just a little bit.
They could have.
Your laptop touch screen?
No.
Okay.
I got no money for that, baby.
I just was asking.
No, they don't. I mean, Apple. I could be lying though, but Apple. I don't think they have touch screen on the MacBook. They have touch buttons on some of them, but they could have done changed in the last 2 years, so I don't know.
All right, so we're going to take it from here. Therefore, in ancient times.
Therefore, in ancient times, all the Jews wore such tassels on the corners of their upper garments, i.e. the 4 corners of the hymnation, as a reminder to themselves that they were Yahweh's people and under his Torah. As Matthew Henry explains further, the Yahadayim being a peculiar people, they were thus distinguished from their neighbors in their dress, as well as their diet, and taught by such little instances of singularity, not to be conformed to the way of the heathen in greater things.
What is this saying to us? What are we supposed to be?
Separate. Kadash.
We can't decide how we're set apart. That word became holy inside the church. And now your pastor tells you what holy is. Don't go to the movies. Don't smoke. Don't drink. All that stuff sounds logical, but we are the children of Yashar'Allah. We don't go by what sounds logical. We go by what the Most High tells us. So if he tells us to put tassels on our clothes to make us set apart, that's what we do. That's what we do. Read on.
Thus, likewise, they proclaimed themselves Jews wherever they were, as those that were not ashamed of Yahweh and his law.
Wherever they were, so even in captivity?
Wherever they were.
Wherever they were.
Our Savior, being made under the law, wore these fringes.
Say what? Who wore them?
Our Savior, being made under the law, wore these fringes. Hence we read of the hem or border of his garment in Matthew.
Matthew 9:20. You want to be like Jesus, but you don't do nothing Jesus did. You don't dress like him. You don't live like him. You don't eat like him, because he ate fishes and honeycomb. He didn't eat no swine. Or you don't want your swine, I take it.
He said, you love me. Why don't you do the things I say?
So just ignore this picture here, family. Let's read on regarding head coverings. Just ignore that foolishness. Just
man, regarding head coverings, some biblical commentators in the past maintained that the custom observed in medieval times, in which Jewish men wore prayer shawls on their heads, prevailed even in the 1st century, so that Paul's instruction regarding the men is opposed to the Jewish practice of his time.
Can we kick it?
I think that's Khan Lakan.
Yeah, I found the word. Did you see that? I sent it in the Telegram.
Oh no, what is it?
I sent it a couple of weeks. I was waiting for y'all to see it.
What is it?
Kaya Ka.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
Comic-Con?
Yeah, I
Well,
put-
see, that's what I said.
I put the letters together. I said, how would we do that? So I was waiting for y'all to see it.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see,
Yeah,
but
it's-
I was just thinking like, cause yes is con and can is kind of like con too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
la,
It's Kayala or something. I got it in the Telegram. But let's kick this and keep it in context. This text is saying that Jewish men, or let's just Israelite men wore prayer shawls over on their heads, prevailed even in the first century. The first century is whose time? The Roman system. Our people are ancient. So if you can only take this back to the first century, you ain't covering none of our fathers. You follow me?
And then it says is opposed to the Jewish practice of his times. So it's saying what Paul is saying is opposed to what this document is saying they were doing in the first century.
Right. Keep it in context. Read on. But this is not likely to be correct. Most scholars believe that the prayer shawl is a later custom which came into general use among the Jews during the 3rd century. During what century?
The 3rd century.
What's the 3rd century?
I ain't gonna lie.
The 3rd century, you always add a 1 to it. So the 3rd century is the 200s. Because from 0 to 1, you don't count as the 1st century. So the 1st century is 101 to 199. The 3rd century is 200 to 299. So it's saying this prayer shawl, that tallit shawl, that blue and white tallit shawl that everyone is wearing, I had one. I thought I was doing right. I had one. I would put it over my head for our feast. It's saying it's not ancient. It only goes back to the 3rd century. Guess what else goes back to the 3rd century?
Head coverings.
That's what this is saying. The Talmud.
Mm.
The first part of the Talmud was written down. The oral law was written down in the 3rd century. The first part of the Talmud is called the Mishnah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of ironic. We get the prayer shawl in the 3rd century when y'all wrote your oral law down.
Mm-hmm.
Talmudic Head-Coverings. Y'all follow me?
Mm-hmm.
We don't accept nothing from Babylon or the Talmud. Nothing from Talmud. Read on. In the 1st century.
In the 1st century, a Jewish man will often wear something on his head for practical reasons, protection from the hot sun or from the cold wind.
It had nothing to do with the Torah. It's hot out here. Let me put a cap on. It's cold. Let me put a scully on. It's common sense. Read on.
But there was apparently no cultural expectation that he should cover or uncover his head at specific times.
Say what?
But there was apparently no cultural expectation that he should cover or uncover his head at specific times.
You can't find nowhere in our scrolls where we cover our heads at specific times. There's nowhere in the text, family. Nowhere in the text. Read on.
If Paul's rule regarding men covering their heads differs from the Jewish custom, it would be in the direction of prohibiting something which was a matter of indifference among the Jews.
It really didn't matter among the Israelites, family. What we're bringing out here, family, this is not our culture, putting those prayer shawls over our heads or wrapping our heads in these wraps. It's not our culture, family. For the sake of time,
I'm about to say, yeah, it reads weird. You gotta think
it's
about
wordy.
it.
It's very wordy.
I mean, because he's saying, Paul's making sure you don't have your head covered.
Yeah, so it's wordy, but I'm going to unpack it a little bit further when we go along. Let's go. Let's be objective, because I don't want to be accused of cherry picking. Let's read what it says about the Israelite women.
As for Jewish women, there is clear evidence that in the 1st century, they covered their heads not only for prayer, but whenever they were outside of their own home. It is said that some Jewish women kept themselves covered at all times. In public, they not only covered their heads, but the lower part of their face as well. For the women, this was a matter of morals and a religious duty, not merely a matter of style or convenience.
So if it's religious duty, we should be able to find it where?
In the scroll.
The scroll. So it's only going back to the 1st century. This 1st century is your Roman times, and we can't find it in the scrolls. It's not part of no woman's religious duty. So let's dig deeper.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something they making up right here, but I don't know.
I ain't gonna take y'all through all this, but you can see the pictures. What he's bringing out here, this is actually from a fresco in a church in Jerusalem, and the painting. Say what?
Nothing.
Go ahead.
I said they got house coats on.
Oh, the tunics. But what they're pointing out, and yes, they have a technique to lighten up these images. But what he's pointing out in this paragraph, what you notice about their heads, uncovered heads. So they did their best to make them look a bit lighter, but you can see their heads is black. Their heads is black. There's nothing on their heads. That's what he's bringing out here. Now let's go to this next image. They're not sure what nation these women come from, but what they have on their heads. The headbands, the diadems, the mitres. Now they're calling these women nomads coming from Egypt. They call us nomads. And they're wearing headbands without head coverings. This was in the days of Abraham. In this painting, the women are depicted wearing headbands without head coverings. We also note that also the tunics of the women are longer than those of the men. Oh, so us men wear dresses, but our dresses were styled a little differently than the women dresses. For the sake of time, I know I'm getting hungry too. Here's another picture. Y'all see it, it's been whitewashed, but you see what you notice.
Crown.
She has her crown, her diadem on. So we know this is our culture, family. We can see the locks, but they have tires on their heads. We have the tire. Then this right here, Gerald, this is what you want to get into, Gerald. He goes into Paul being in Corinth. For the sake of time, I'm not going to get into it. There's some black and white there's some black and white explicit text I want to get into, but this whole paragraph, he goes into why Paul might have been addressing what he was addressing in Corinth or to the people of Corinth. But for the sake of time,
do you think that he brought it up, like I was paraphrasing about the scripture earlier, do you think he might have brought up women covering their head because they were suffering from the plagues of the scabs?
We can suppose that, but this, I'm going to get to a point here. It's like, all right, let's read it here. Let's start this paragraph.
Okay.
Even if it could be established that in Corinth and in Greek cities and other Greek cities of the 1st century, women were expected to cover their heads in public, we need to ask further concerning the customs at worship. As noted above, in some religious contexts, Greek women did participate in religious exercises with their heads uncovered.
Who women?
Greek women did participate in religious exercises with their heads uncovered.
Greek women, okay, read on.
This may have something to do with our passage because Paul's discussion specifically focuses on attire while praying and prophesying. Did the Corinthian women want to remove their head coverings while praying or prophesying because this corresponded with the customs of the pagan mystery cults in which the women uncovered their heads? Perhaps they were tempted to do this. The likelihood of it is increased by the fact that there were many points of contact between the practices of the mystery cults and the issues Paul deals with in his letters to the Corinthians. And charismatic women in particular may have been vulnerable to this influence because of the focus upon emotional exaltation in the mystery cults.
Let's unpack this. He's saying, well, first of all, we already established that our sisters just had on tires, just mitres like us. But he's saying maybe Paul is addressing that y'all sisters in Corinth are copying off the pagans and taking off even your mitries. He says, so maybe Paul is like, listen, don't be copying off these Greeks. Keep your mitri on, opposed to what the Christian Roman Catholicism told us that, oh, women was all veiled and wrapped up like mummies. That's what he's saying. He's saying, he can't say for sure, but maybe Paul is saying, listen, sisters, don't copy off these pagans and take everything off yourself. That's what he's saying. But again, even these scholars say we really can't pinpoint what Paul was addressing. They can't pinpoint what Paul was addressing for sure.
Is this during the time where they were worshiping Dagon and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
If that's the case, it would make sense why he would tell the men to uncover their heads to take those crazy hats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is all day. These nations just passed around these customs for years. I want to go to the footnotes of this just to bring it home, family. This is a great article to read the whole thing. I want to go to the footnotes and really knock your socks off. So here's the footnotes, right? Can we read the first note here?
In the first century, trousers were associated with the northern barbarians who doubtless invented them for greater warmth in the cold climate. Thomas A. Joyce explains that one of the points about the northern barbarians which struck the ancient Greeks and Romans most forcibly was the fact that they wore trousers. Amongst the most northerly races, the latter garb is worn by both sexes alike. Farther south by the men, the women retaining their tropical form. Farther south still, the latter reigns supreme. The retention by women in Europe of the tropical garb can be explained by the fact that her sphere has been mainly confined to the house and her life has been less active than that of man. Consequently, the adoption of the Arctic dress has been, in her case, less necessary.
What is this footnote saying? Pants is not in our culture. Pants came from the northern countries where it was cold at, where they needed warmth. So this doctrine that sisters can't wear pants, the men didn't wear pants. We're from a tropical climate. So for you to preach a doctrine that sisters shouldn't wear pants, and you got so much education, you got so much knowledge, our culture men don't wear pants because we're from a hot climate. But as men started to work and travel, they picked up the culture from the pagans. So us wearing pants, we're copying off the pagans. But these brothers get puffed up in their knowledge, and now you know something, and now you condemn the sisters for wearing pants, and you're following the pagans. The Most High says, don't take after the heathens. So none of us are supposed to be wearing pants. It's not our culture. We're from Africa. We don't need pants. All of us wear tunics. I just want to bring that out for the sisters' sake. Don't let nobody put you in condemnation for wearing pants, because us men don't wear pants in our culture. Everything we do here, family, we teach our culture, we learn our culture, and that's why we wear tunics. Pants is not our culture. So for the second time, I'm gonna just drop y'all down to the 11th note, and we're gonna move on.
Mara, I just wanted to ask for my own edification. Did the high priest wear pants, or did they just put on like trousers?
The translations calls them, did it say trousers in the translations? What do they call them in the translations? This escapes my mind. He should put on breeches. Breeches. Old fashioned word, grandpa.
So it don't cause sweat.
Right. So those breeches, the best thing we can think of is long johns. You know, in the wintertime, well, y'all from the South, but back home, you from Virginia?
I'm from here.
Oh, well, and back home, us men, if you out in the cold, you put on long johns underneath your pants. So that's what because the Most High says, my Ruach is going to fill that inner chamber. I'm a spirit. The Most High is a spirit, so he can go underneath your garments. So he's saying, I don't want to be underneath your tunic and seeing your business. So put on long johns. That's what it was. But that was only for the high priest. When he got done his service, he took, because there was only one high priest uniform. All the high priests didn't have their own uniform. You had the garments. And of course, they had adjustments for big guys and little guys, but it was only one set of garments. So those holy garments stay in the inner chamber. So when you was done your service, you took those garments off, washed, and went back and put on your tunic. So none of the men around Jerusalem wore pants or trousers. Only the high priest when he was serving in the inner chamber. That's a great question. Great question. So the last note I want to go over here, family, and we're about done. Let's go to footnote 12. Footnote 12. Joachim, Jeremiah's.
Joachim Jeremiah's Jerusalem in the Time of Jesus. Philadelphia Fortress Press, 1969. Of course, the extreme propriety observed by Kemet should not be seen as typical, and we may assume that Jewish women used head coverings not in some legalistic spirit, but simply as a matter of custom and within the bounds of common sense.
What does that mean? It wasn't part of the Torah. It's just that if it's cold, a sister's going to cover her head. If the sun is hot, she's going to put on a linen to keep cool. Not because it's a law in the Torah, because you can't find it in the Torah. Read on.
Jeremiah goes on to say, there is no indication that the custom of wrapping up the head was observed as strictly in the country as in the town.
So he's saying there's no difference in the city life or the country life. There's no way, you can't find no hard-pressed information that it was like a religious ordinances the sisters cover their heads.
It should also be noted that custom was not confined to the Jews. It may be described as an Eastern custom.
I'm trying to scan it down to make sure I ain't skipping nothing. I think that's what we came for. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what I want. Right here. Can we finish with this?
The Middle Assyrian laws preserved on clay tablets from the time of the Tiglath-Pileser contained a law requiring all Assyrian women to cover their heads in public with a shawl or a robe or mantle, with the exception of prostitutes who are forbidden to cover their heads.
Be careful who you're listening to. So the Assyrian women, we're not Assyrians. We don't follow them. So they got laws that the women are to cover their heads unless you're a prostitute. A prostitute, you're supposed to be shamed and uncover yourself. But our culture, we don't follow Assyrians. Our sisters don't follow the Assyrians. So that's all we needed from that, family. Let's go back to the presentation and bring this on home. Talmudic Head-Coverings. Talmudic Head-Coverings.
And then when the men went to war, didn't they girded up their, where's it at where they actually had to gird up their garments to fight?
It's in the Old and New Testament. You would put a girdle on extra tight to protect your loins. It's if you search for gird, search for the word gird or girdle and Blue Letter Bible, and some scripture should come up. But for the most part, under our tunics, you may have like some shorts on or something. But you don't. We're from Africa. We're not going to be all wrapped up in cotton like that. So we went over that. Let's bring this home, family, so we can wrap this up. Torah Karat versus Torah Pa. Torah Karat versus Torah Pa. Torah Karat is the written Torah. Karat is the word we get for carat, 10 karat gold, 14 karat gold. Karat in our culture means to be cut or scratched in. So we have an instance now, family, where we're exposing us following what Moses got written by the Most High on those stones versus the Torah Pa. Pa is mouth, the oral law of the Talmudists. If you cover your head up like we've been doing, we're following the Talmudic rabbis. Let's go to Susanna chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. Susanna chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. And this is a story about when Daniel got his fame and the Most High started working with Daniel. We're going to Susanna chapter 1. We're going to jump around verses 1 through 3 and then 31 through 32. And then we'll jump all the way down to verses 55. So 1 through 3, and I get on the screen. I know everybody just coming in. Let's go back. Y'all hang in there. We're almost out of here.
This you was gonna teach on the arm of Yahweh?
Yeah, that's what was on deck for today. But when I started building these notes, my spirit got so pricked because I hate the fact that we was teaching. We can't be calling people out for false doctrine, and I know I've been teaching false doctrine without addressing it. So my spirit got so heavy. The more this research came out, I said, Father, I got to correct this. I don't want nobody bringing up Talmudic customs into the ABBA YAH. I don't want any Talmudic customs up in the ABBA YAH. So this is a story of Susanna. It's only one chapter, and this is when our Daniel gets his fame. And the backstory here, family, these two elders, listen to what I'm saying, elders accused Susanna of fornicating because they wanted her. And they say, we're going to give you an ultimatum. Lay with us and fulfill our lust, or we're going to lie on you and say you was in here with a man. These are two elders. The reason why I stress this word elders, family, because you got brothers puffing themselves up. I've been teaching 20 years. I've been out on these streets a long time. It doesn't matter how long someone's been in the truth. It matters how long you've been walking with Yah. Because learning facts is easy. A monkey can learn how to read. So just because someone is your elder, you make sure you can find it in the text. I don't care how much good information he's bringing out. Is it in the text? Because you get these brothers, they come out with all kind of books and PDFs and all this, all kind of diagrams on their videos. Is it in the text? It don't matter how ancient it is. Oh, this is ancient. Half of our nation is ancient and wicked. So don't be following someone because they're an elder, they got long beards down to the floor, or they've been teaching a long time. You make sure you can find it in the book yourself. So let's read the story of Susanna, and we're just going to pick out verses 1 through 3, and then we're going to jump around.
There dwelt a man in Babel called Yahuyakim, and he took a woman whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Yahu, a very fair woman, and one that feared Yahweh.
Verse 3.
Her parents also were righteous and taught their daughter according to the Torah of Moshe.
So this shoots down the brother's doctrine that we can't follow the law in captivity. I don't know if y'all been around long enough, but you get those brothers, some of them they done moved back to Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, and they have put it out on their social media. You can't even keep the law in America. You can't keep the law in captivity. Here's Susanna being raised in Babylon. She's born and raised in captivity. And what her parents do? Taught her the law. So anybody telling you we can't keep the law in captivity, they are a liar. They're in direct opposition to the scrolls. So let's jump down. What we said we're going to jump down to? 30 and 31. So Susanna is a captive in Babylon, but she's following the law. Verse 31.
Now Susanna was a very delicate woman and beauteous to behold. And these wicked men commanded to uncover her face, for she was covered, that they might be filled with her beauty.
So here it again. Oh, they wanted her to uncover her face. But the part we skip, family, is they already told the city that she was fornicating. So now her family and everybody's with her, and her father, because she's in her husband, now she's covered herself because she's embarrassed. So no, she don't, in her natural habitat, she's not covered. It's now that she's been accused of being a harlot, she's covering. And now these elders, they want one more chance. She's so beautiful. These elders, these wicked Israelite elders, want one more chance to look at her. So they say, have her uncover herself. So don't take this and cherry pick this and let someone see she was covered. No, she's covered because she's shamed now. She's shamed now. So you have some, Queen?
No.
So let's drop down to verse 56, 55. Let's get the outcome of the verdict here.
And Daniel said, very well, you have lied against your own head. For even now, the angel of Elohim has received the sentence of Elohim to cut you in two.
So Daniel is a young man here, and the spirit jumped on him right before he was about to kill Susanna. And Daniel says, wait a minute. Don't the law teaches us that we got to interrogate the matter? So Daniel is a young man interrogating elders. Daniel's a young man interrogating elders. It don't matter about your age. It matters if you're righteous or not. So the fact that these brothers puff themselves up, oh, you can't question me. How long you been in the truth? All these parameters of their righteousness is Pharisaic, family. Daniel right here has just condemned an elder to death because Daniel caught him lying, family. Daniel caught him lying. Read on.
Verse 56. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other and said,
So bring the other elder in.
O seed of Cain, and not of Yehuda. Beauty has deceived you, and lust has perverted your heart.
What did he call him out? The seed of who?
Seed of Canaan.
What is Canaan? What's the other word for the city of Canaan? Babylon. He says, you are the seed of Babylon. You done been over here and you done got this Babylonian spirit in you. You was about to have a daughter of Zion unrighteously killed because you're lusting. So be careful who you following. You don't want to be following the seed of Canaan, aka the seed of Babylon. That's what we came for, family. We don't want to be following the seed of Babylon. So let's bring this home. Let's bring this home. I don't want to rush y'all. We have Q&A, but so verses 55 through 56, Daniel's called that elder, you are the seed of Babylon. You're the seed of Canaan. Where did the Talmud come from? But it was in Babylon. So the Pharisees that the Messiah was going against, they were coming out of Babylon. They were born and raised out of Babylon. Those same Pharisees are these elders that almost killed Susanna. Be careful who you following. Make sure y'all can find it, put your finger on it, and make sure people ain't hitting you with the head fade. I just broke that down, didn't I? No, you didn't. I just showed you Christmas in the Bible right here. Here's a tree, they celebrating Christmas. No, that's not what they're doing. Because that's what you got going on. I just broke that down. I gave you 2 precepts. No, you paraphrased some precepts. You exegeted some things, but that's not what the text is saying. Make sure you can see it for yourselves, family. So, Talmudic head wraps. This style of head wrap, family, is coming from the Khazars or Slakia. It's coming from our elders who came up in Babylon, who wrote the oral law. This style of headdress is Talmudic. It's not in the Torah. It's not in the Tanakh. So let's end this with close it out. So can you see that out? Want me to read it? This is the Yiddish. Go ahead.
Tchel, also called Mishpahat, is the Yiddish word for the headscarf worn by many married Orthodox Jewish women in compliance with their code of modesty known as the Tazanut, which requires married women to cover their hair.
What does the Yiddish mean? Where does the Yiddish come from?
The Khazarian.
Khazarian. We're not Yiddish. We're not Khazarian. This headscarf, this tequil comes from the Yiddish people, from Orthodox Jewish. Orthodox Jewish is Khazars. We don't deal with it. Read on.
Tchel can range from a simple plain color cotton kerchief tied in the back to elaborate head coverings using multiple fabrics and tying techniques.
We don't need the etymology. Let's read the background.
After the wedding ceremony, Orthodox Jews believe that women should only show their hair to her husband, show her hair to her husband. According to the Mishnah in the Ketubah, her hair covering is not an obligation of biblical origin, but is highly advised, as many Jewish women used to wear it.
What you say, Hop?
Hair covering is not an obligation of biblical origin, but is highly advised.
According to the Mishnah, that's the Talmud. We don't deal with the Talmud. Then they confess it's not biblical. We don't deal with, don't bring me that. While your head ain't covered, I smack fire out you. This my queen. This my queen. It's not in the scrolls. Read on.
And the Bible advises it, as we see in Genesis 24, 64 to 65, Isaiah 47, 42, Song of Songs 4 and 1. It discusses behaviors that are grounds for divorce, such as appearing in public with loose hair, weaving in the marketplace, and talking to any man, and calls these violations of that Yehudit, which means Jewish rule, as opposed to dat Mashah, Mosaic rule.
What did you just say? This is oral law. The oral law says you can be divorced for going in public with loose hair.
I'm about to say, I was about to say, it sounded like they just made that up.
Yeah.
That's traditions of men.
They're paraphrasing Torah, it says, see right here, and then they reference Genesis 24 and 64. We did too. Guess where that was at? That's Rebecca coming from Babylon when she seen Isaac. So you using a Babylonian woman to put on an Israelite woman? No, this is Talmudic. He says this is the dot Yehud versus the dot Moshe, meaning it's not what Moses got. This is oral law. We don't deal with the family. The head covering, those scarves that most of us been wearing, myself included, I'm guilty. I didn't know. So all my sisters in our fellowship, I apologize. Blame it on my mind, not my heart. I just didn't know. All praise be to ABBA YAH. These scarves that the sisters are wearing are Talmudic. You can't find it in the scrolls anywhere. These Talmudics came up with this mess.
I missed the explanation though. I might have probably missed it. What did you say Paul was talking about when he was talking about women praying with their heads covered?
So no scholars can pinpoint exactly what Paul is talking about, because every objective scholar, as we just went over, you can't find any Torah commandment where a woman is to cover her head. So everyone has supposition of what Paul is referring to. And the best one we came across, he says, well, the pagans over in Corinth and other Greek cities, their women worship their idols all kind of with wild hair. You ever seen them at the all that mess? So he's saying he don't know for sure, but he says maybe Paul is warning the sisters, don't copy off them and unloose your hair. Keep your hair up braided or keep your hair in your diadem. No one knows for sure. But what I was telling Queen is you can't forget, who was Paul raised by?
He was a Roman citizen.
I sat at the feet of who?
I always forget his name. He was one of the highest renowned.
Gerald, who did Paul say I sat at the feet at, Gerald?
He was a Pharisee.
Gamaliel.
That's it.
Those two schools, Gamaliel and who was the other heavy hitter Talmudic, Gerald? It was two. If you went to their schools, like it was Harvard of the oral law. Gamaliel and Hillel.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Hillel and Gamaliel had the two most popular schools back in the day. So it's like, oh, I set up under Gamaliel. Like right now, well, who's your elder? I set up under Paul.
Hillel's the one that made Saturday the Shabbat. I was looking at
His great grandson.
Okay.
You got Hillel the Great, Hillel the first,
And
and
the second.
the second is the one that came up.
Yes.
Right.
So even if Paul did say it, you don't see it, you don't get another witness.
No what?
Yeah.
So
Like I get, because I mean, the examples you have is the same thing, just like what we were showing for the men.
Yeah.
It's just confusing because you know that pops up there, and then we just take it and run with it.
And to go along with pretty much what Ms. Jada is saying, we got to remember that Paul was writing letters to specific countries for specific reasons. So to go along with what Maureen's saying too, there, you know, it's hard to pinpoint as to why Paul even addressed that situation to them at that particular time.
At Corinth, yep. So this is about it. But I wanted to I had a class a lot longer, but Gerald hit on it too. Let's go to was that First Peter, Gerald? About the 1 Peter 3, I think it is.
Yeah, it's
About the outward appearance.
Yeah, 1 Peter 3.
Go ahead and read if you got it, Gerald.
I don't have it yet, but it sounds right. Where you at? Yeah, 1 Peter 3. This is the blue letter. Who's adorned? 1 Peter 3:3. Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and the wearing of gold, or of putting on the apparel.
So the outward adorning meaning of the plaiting of the hair, that's braiding the hair. So if you can see her hair braided, her hair is not up in a scarf. And this is the so-called New Testament. So-called New Testament. So the sisters didn't cover their locks up. Sisters didn't cover. Thank you for that. And there's many more. Y'all know there's so many. I try to just give us enough to see it. There's many more examples. But these are some images that my aunt sent me, ABBA, and they're online. I was lazy. He sent them to me, so I didn't go get them myself. But they're online. And I do have a book here where you can find. I got duped. I thought the book was in color, but it's in black and white. But there's a book by one of our elders, J.E. Rogers, and his book is Nature Knows No Color Line. Nature Knows No Color Line. And what he did, his book, if you find a color version, let me know. Maybe I'll go back and get it if it's under $20. But his book has these same images that we're about to go over. It's just in black and white. And the question we got to ask these so-called scholars, these so-called doctors, and these so-called pseudo-historians, if England, if France, and Belgium, if y'all such great noble people, why do y'all ancient crests have our ancestors on them? Who did the 52 fake out? So this first image is here. You can see it. This is the crest of the Swiss. And y'all see, this is not made up. Y'all see he has a diadem on. And it's tied in the back like us brothers are wearing. And you see he has curly hair. The Jews are always recorded as having curly hair. So all this mess about our hair being nappy and all this stuff, no, our hair is curly, and some of us have tight coils. That's all naps are. Some people's hair is tightly coiled, some is loosely coiled, and it makes curls. Same thing they make fiber optics out of, it comes from our hair. But this is the crest of the Swiss, and y'all see the image here. Here's the crest of the Germans. And Germans have a word that's called swarthy. Arnold Schwarzenegger. His name Schwartz is exposing their lies that you come from black people. You have stolen the land and the kingdoms of black people. Schwartz and swarthy means black. Stuart means black. So this is the crest of Germany. This is the crest of France, the French. And y'all see they have diadems on. Y'all see, you know, they try to make the lips very protruding and whatnot. That's beautiful to me. So, you know, you see his hair is curly, cool, it's beautiful. And this is in France. And then this last one is a relief. You can find this online. This is when we were, this is when Assyria was taking us as captives. So this is when the Syrians were taking us, and you see the elders, you can see their braids or their locks, and you see their diadems on. This is the culture of the Israelites, family. We do not cover our crowns of our heads. We don't cover the crowns of our heads. And the last one I wanted to show, also Shamaya sent, the sister in the middle from Britain, the British, that's a woman. To me, that's a woman to y'all. To me, it looks feminine.
Earring in.
So that's a woman, right? And she has a diadem on.
Because those guys, they look like
they look manly, right?
But they have earrings on.
But to me, her facial features look feminine.
It do look like a woman.
to me, it looked like a woman. So I was saying that this is a woman with a diadem on. But this is just the springboard your studies. If you're not comfortable with it, we don't indoctrinate here, family. The Torah Group, we share information, and it's your job to vet it and make it your own. But from here on out, I'm going to ask everyone, men and women alike, do not come into the sanctuary with your crown covered. With your crown covered. For the time being, so I can find some more information, the sisters will continue to cover themselves during prayer. I'd rather err on the side of caution until we find some more information about prayer. But for the most part, I'm going to ask that everyone, sisters and men, do not come inside the sanctuary with your crown covered. Please have on a diadem or a mitre, but do not cover your crown because it's Talmudic. It's Talmudic. So that's it, family. This has been Talmudic Head Coverings, and this is me being a man of my word. When we find that we've been teaching false doctrine, we don't hide it, we expose it, because we're the children of the slaves. It's not an embarrassment. Everything we're falling into, false doctrine, drug addiction, porn addiction, it shouldn't be an embarrassment. We're children of slaves raised up in captivity, taking on all kind of wickedness. So we expose false doctrine when it comes from us or anybody, and we expose it for love and to help. Because a lot of people put these sisters through a lot. These sisters get called all kind of names for not having their head covers, for wearing pants. It's like, you ain't that sister's husband. You ain't that sister's father. And you surely ain't her Alahayim. So who are you to question another man's servant? That's coming from Messiah. Who are you to question another man's servant? So this is us being responsible and correcting the false doctrine that we've been teaching over the years. Anyone, man or woman, having their entire scalp covered, you're following the oral tradition of the Talmudic rabbis. It's not in the Torah. It's not in the Torah. You're in direct violation. Let's close with this. Let's close with Deuteronomy 4:2. Deuteronomy 4:2. Anybody coming into your assembly with all their head covered, whether it be a man or a woman, they're following the Talmudic oral law, and it's wicked. We don't practice it here, and this is why we don't practice the oral law. Read.
You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it.
So when you tell someone that they got to cover themselves up and we can't find it in the Torah, you just add it to the Most High's word. Our sisters and men, we come into the sanctuary with modesty. Sisters, you can beautify yourselves. Brothers, you can beautify yourselves. But don't forget who beautified you. Don't come in here looking for date night. This is a holy place. We're not here matchmaking. We're here to celebrate our King and to lift up our Father. And with that, I close out, open the floor for questions, comments, and concerns.
All praise to the Most High, man, for your humble spirit of adjusting that. I think that says a lot. And if that don't let people see how the Ruach is working through you, then I don't know what would, because not too many people will get up and do a lesson like that and make adjustments immediately. So all praises to the Most High, and I commend you for allowing his Ruach to work through you in that way.
It's for the nation, it's for righteousness. It's not about one man. If you show it to me, but we're gonna do our best to do it.
That's funny too, because I just came in and we already discussed it, you know what I'm saying? But I was just joking with you because you had you've been wearing your hair open for like a couple weeks, but I was just joking with you. It's like, man, I'm proud of you, man, because the stuff we talked about, privately. Yeah. But then I didn't know that was what the lesson was about. Yeah. I didn't even know that.
I told my wife, I said, I thought I was ahead of the game. I said, babe, I'm up. I'm building next week's lesson. And I kept finding these scriptures. It's like, looking, I said, my spirit was pricked. Like, we don't want to practice any Talmudic customs. We don't want to ask the Most High's word. So I thank the Most High for his understanding. And listen, if you guys can prove it to us with scripture to not, if the Most High wants us to sleep all day Monday, first day of the week, that's what we got to try to do, if we can do it in captivity. So this one thing I wanted to bring out the lights are off, but this is a book that I've been feeding off of for like the last 2 years. And this book I found on a I think abooks.com. And this book is called Sefer HaKabbalah. And it's by an Israelite. Sefer HaKabbalah. It's by an Israelite. And what he does, he just records all the history as the Israelites were over in Spain and Europe. And what they don't tell us, family, is that it was only Rome who really hated us and was persecuting us. But when we were in Lisbon and the other European countries, their kings and queens loved us and had our elders as their advisors, And as our ancestors had amassed wealth, they would send wealth to other schools and say, take care of the people. And this is why you can get this book. And a lot of the customs that us people are practicing, those of us coming back, we're getting a lot of the stuff from the Talmudists, from the Talmud. The blue and white prayer shawls, that's Talmudic. Covering your whole scalp is Talmudic. So if that's what you want to do, fine, know what you're doing. But for us in the Torah group, we're following what Moses got, and anything added to or taken from it, we're not going to deal with it.